take on that? You talked about Ruggs on any of your great shows you have?
Um, Not lately. No. Put that in the fridge. Sorry, hang on a sec.
Giving him his refill.
Doing a coffee swap.
Oh man,
Um,
they go get you that Dunkin' Donut stuff, or do you have it made for you?
the wife goes out to. We got a Dunkin' Donuts like right at the top of the street, so
Oh,
I run on Dunkin' Donuts, man. That's if I could replace my blood with Dunkin' Donuts, that they could be happy. And it's not. It's all decaf too. I can't drink regular caffeine because of other medical stuff. So it's all decaf all the time. Just the taste and the nice cold coffee. No,
what I
we
see you
talked
drink it
about
all. I see you drink it all the time. What up,
the
Cool
drink,
Kev?
man.
How you doing?
We've talked about it before, and I tend to find that the chats are usually split 50-50 on whether they want him back in Raider Nation or not.
Uh,
It seems like the majority of them are okay with him coming back in the league. I mean, he's done his time, I guess you could say. I have a hard time accepting it just because of what I've done in my life with the fire service and everything, and I've seen my fair share of shit like that, and I don't have as much remorse for someone when that happens. It's a tough situation to kind of get behind. For me, why should he reap the benefits of coming back to the NFL, making millions again, when this family's, they lost a loved one. Her life is over.
Yeah.
I don't know if they went on a civil suit after him or not. I don't know the particulars. So that's just a tough pill to swallow for me. He can just move on like nothing happened. He took a life, man. He made a bad decision. A really bad decision, in my opinion. Nobody should get behind the wheel when they're that intoxicated. And then to go 100 and I forget what the speed was, but like 125 plus. I've seen a video of the car further down the road going by, and it was just basically a red blur. And that was because of the LED lights underneath the car, and the next thing you know, rear ends this lady and her car just bursts into flames. You know? And again, I've seen this many times before. It's always the drunk driver that survives because your body's in a relaxed state. You don't tense up and you just tend to bounce around in the car. If you're in the other car and you're seeing it in your mirror, a car's going to hit you. What do you do right away? Human reaction. You tense up, and it just causes a ton more damage. Thank you. So it's like, I don't know. I'm still that balancing act of how I feel on it. I agree with Guerrero too. It's a rough subject. It really is.
It is, but I'll get off it. I said what I had to do. It's tough, I said that he's gonna have to be on this earth for the rest of his life as a convicted felon. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you talk to people in the industry of protecting the public, and it's gonna be. They don't know, but they hear what it's like doing that, and then he's gonna have to live. It's gonna be hard for him. He has to put that on every job application. If football doesn't pan out, you know what I mean. And he's not gonna be out here getting millions of dollars. He's gonna be like a UDFA. He gonna
get more money than somebody that works at a convenience store.
Exactly.
No.
Vicky, what's up, man? So we think he's gonna come out and sign a contract for fucking $6 million for 2 years. That ain't gonna happen.
No,
he's gonna get punished.
Not the first one, anyway. It could turn into something like that if he comes out and he shines. But,
and I've heard that he already did that. There was a civil suit or something, or times all that. But he shouldn't have no problem giving his money up. If you got kids or whatever, if he has a child or a wife or whatever, hey, I got to take care of. I got to do what I got to do, and then you can promote drunk driving issues as you rehabilitate yourself when you're going through shit like that. And I'm sure I don't care where he was locked up at. I don't care what happened, but he served that time. It's not saying he's a good guy or what he did was good, but he has the opportunity to live his life, and he's going to have to go through a lot of shit. He's going to pay for this for the rest of his life. So he deserves that. You know, if you take a life, you're going to remember that shit. And then I said too, if you think it's all right that you did that, then you're a fucked up person. So
yeah, pretty much.
He has to deal with that. He has to deal with that all his whole life, and he's not going to be basically in society because what he did. So it's going to affect him, and all he knows how to do is play football, Jeff. That's it. You know, he's fresh out of college. He didn't learn how to do shit. He doesn't know whatever his degree was. He didn't get a degree, so he has to go off that. So all he knows is I'm not giving him a chance in society. You know, if there was a guy like me, if a guy like me did that, bro, I'll still be locked up. But
oh hell
I
yeah!
had the money.
You'd have to come out and get a job working at 7-Eleven or something. You ain't gonna walk into an NFL team, you know.
There it is. Here it is right here. If you guys look through the chat, keep putting that in. My mod or something like that. If you guys can keep rotating that. No, we'll get on that subject, Jay. We'll get on that subject about this young man.
Because I got good news on that. So,
okay, I wanted to talk about it a little bit, but I did before. But Jeff and a lot of his viewers, I was watching your show last night, and you guys did a wonderful thing for this little boy. His little boy's name's Raider, right?
Correct.
And he's 3 years old. He has a heart condition. He has surgery today. And it's tough for the parents to do normal things, and you got I've seen a lot of generous people do a lot of things. Talk about that real quick, Jeff. So, because you know more than me.
Yeah, this some people have probably seen him in our chats. He's on numerous shows in the chats in the past. His name is Raider 24 Nation. That's the father. His real name's Devin. And first time I saw him, he was on one of my chats and on my shows, and we got to talking off camera, you know, off screen on the, you know, on in Instagram. And he hit me up because he would talk about it in the channel as far as, you know, his son, you know, that his son was going through issues in the name of his son. So him and I struck up a friendship on the outside. And he's already had 4 surgeries. He was born with a heart defect. He had, I'll read it to you exactly what it is, so we can understand what it is. So he has a congenital heart defect. He has atrial septal valve defect, a ventricular septal valve defect, and a narrow aorta. This has caused him to already have numerous surgeries, and more in the future, hopefully not. So I did get good news while I was outside before I logged in with you. His dad reached out to me. The surgery was a success today. They had surgery this morning. He just came out of it about a half hour ago. He's still going to be asleep for a little while. So they'll be hopefully be able to go in and see him in a little bit. He just sent me another picture of them sitting outside the ICU waiting to find out how he's doing, to get in and see him. So surgery went well. They were able to close up all the additional holes that they needed to. The doctors have a positive outcome or outlook on this. Hopefully he may not have to have more surgeries in the future, but it all depends on how he grows as he gets older, if it you know, any complications going forward. He does definitely have one more surgery coming. It's to remove the tube, like the feeding tube and everything he's got. So that's additional surgery too for that, but that won't hopefully be as invasive as like what they did today. But going forward, it looks good. It's a good outlook for him. Now they live 3 hours from the hospital, so that's a lot of driving back and forth. The father's losing hours at work because, you know, them having to travel. They were having a hard time getting any type of financial assistance from the, you know, the caseworkers at the hospital. And I was on the phone with them talking one night, and I said, you need to get on the ass of the caseworker and see what they can do for you. Basically what the lady had done for them so far was gave them a $50 gas card and said, here, that's about all I can do. And I told him, I said, no, you need to push that lady and tell her that, you know, there's more she can do. So she was able, yesterday was the first day they were able to actually stay at a Ronald McDonald House. So those that aren't familiar with that, what it is it's a location that puts parents up close to the hospital, so they don't have. Because other than that, they were doing hotels, and it was costing them a fortune. You know, I mean, everybody knows hotels aren't cheap, and you know, spending a few days like right now, they're going to be up in that area now until at least Wednesday, but they don't have to worry about paying for hotels. Ronald McDonald's house is taken care of. So it's a good thing. So they thanked me for, you know, lighting a fire under their ass to, you know, push the lady at the, you know, the social worker. So, but then we decided Wednesday night on the Raider Connection before we started our show that I was going to start a GoFundMe. We were going to bring him on. He came on the show with us and really, you know, explained and expressed and the outpouring love from the channel. You know, the members and the subscribers that were watching, just, you know, pushing money through and super chats and everything. And so we will get that money to him once we, you know, myself and Jay will get in the super chats from a few different supporters. You know, namely, I got to shout them out because of the amount of money they dropped. Navman and God Family and Life, God Family Raiders. Sorry. Both were going back and forth like a competition dropping money. So it was absolutely a beautiful thing. And I mean, they had me crying. I was in tears watching.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that. That's special. That's special.
Like that. So they did it.
Got off real quick. You got off real that live. As soon as you started talking about it, I see that the live ended real quick. I went to go to the restroom or get something, and I understand fully, man. Little babies like that.
I'm usually not speechless, but they had me speechless Wednesday night. So.
That was good, man. To those guys,
it was like, good. And the GoFundMe's going okay so far. I mean, we've only started it Wednesday night. We're up to, I believe, 180 right now. So anything anybody can do, we appreciate it. You know, we're not asking for you to break the bank, but you know, we're just trying to help this family out. They've incurred huge medical costs over this, so we're just trying to do anything we can to alleviate, you know, their stress. So.
We know how it is.
It's good news today, thank God. So
that's great. God bless for that little and saying, you know, I've sent some emoji prayer hands and big up angels or wings or something to this little boy. He's 3 years old. He don't know what's going on, and most of his life
he hasn't been able to live a normal 3-year-old's life. You know,
man. Let's pump some air into his lungs and give him some blessings and make that heart all nice and good, because. You know, he feels our heart, and we're gonna send it these good vibes all the way to him, so he can recover and be able to know what the Raiders are about at an old age, just like we are, Jeff. Just, you know, he's 3 years old. He hasn't deserved a chance to even do anything. So you'll see it in the chat periodically. You know, and my moms, you know, Mike and D Menace. What's up, D Menace? How you doing, my brother? Dark. If you guys could. Get that float in there every once in a while, so I could get to the chat, and that'd be great, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's linked on. It's in my channel. If you go to my Linktree account, you'll see all the links. It's the number. It's the top feed. It's on my channel. It's on my Instagram. It's on my Facebook. So I've been trying to push this out, and everybody feel free to share it wherever you can. If you want to put it, if you've got Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want to put it, anything we can do to spread the word among Raider Nation and even outside of Raider Nation. I mean, if anybody's got a heart, I mean, can't imagine people saying, no, I don't want to know about that at all. So unless they're completely heartless. But yeah, it's a good
thing you're doing, Jeff. I appreciate that. That's a good thing. Tells you what type man you are. That's good. Real compassionate man. I dig that, man.
Well, you know what is, and Leo was upset that I didn't say anything earlier. I've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes because I'm not going to go out there and say this is what I'm doing. This is what you know. It all came out Wednesday night with what Devin was saying while he was on the show. You know, I've been in contact with so many different foundations and organizations down in the area trying to find out any information to help them out, trying to do what I can. And Leo's like, why didn't you tell us this? Because I have the time. I can do it during the day. I'm home all the time. So I have that ability, you know, and I didn't put it out there because it's not like I'm looking for attention for this. The one thing I want attention for is when we're doing this GoFundMe, you know, and to have people aware of, you know, what this little boy's going through. So in the family too. You know, so it hasn't been easy for them. You know, and I feel for them. I really do.
I bet.
So
I bet
it was good. Like I said, it was good news today. It's a nice feeling to hear that today from him. So I appreciated it.
That's great news. Yeah, glad you came on to spread that. I said a little bit of it, but I didn't want to, really get into the gist of it because I didn't know, everything. I thought it was something to do with it, but it's for his heart, and let's get that little baby heart going, get it full of strength, so so it could be he could live his life like a normal child supposed to have fun, play with stuff. And he doesn't know any better right now. He's just probably scared as hell. Feel bad for him.
Oh,
and
God,
it's very double stressful on the parents. Double stressful on the parents. So help them out. They don't want to be worrying about money and what they're gonna do and shit like this. Take care of them. Radio nations like that. So as a nation, man, just get into that and help this family out.
Yep.
That'll be the best thing for you to do. Do something good today. Do something good today and do that. Make you feel better for the day.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a real feel-good story versus, some of the bullshit that's going on in this world right now. Mm-hmm. Between stuff in the Middle East, stuff going on in our own country, and this is something that you feel good and get behind. That's going to be a positive impact on somebody. There's too much negativity.
Talk about that, Jeffrey. I named the show Freestyle Friday, bro. So we can talk about that if we want.
It's ridiculous.
Not political. Not, you say anything about Israel or anything like that, your show will get cut off. But if you discuss and just don't say no names, it'll be all right. But if you say something and you're political about that part of the world, YouTube doesn't like that, and I don't know why, but we can have our views. But I like to stick it into the now stuff. That stuff's way over our head. And whatever our views are, that's your opinion. But
oh yeah, I mean, I don't get into it in that aspect, but I'm just saying, with all the negativity going on, you got this one situation with this little 3-year-old boy. If you can't get behind that and support that and feel good about yourself after that, then check your pulse, because you ain't got one. Yeah. With all the negativity, even within Raider Nation, it's like this is something that should quell a lot of crap and make people work together to help someone. So
Jeff. Sometimes I've come to where I got used to what YouTube is, and I don't know if you've done it already, but I've been on a lot of shows. I got my own, a while back, but it's sane. It's good motivation for someone to say, "Hey, let's get all of us and reunite together and be as one and stuff." You're gonna realize that ain't gonna happen. You know what I mean? Everybody in this.
Everybody's got a difference of opinions, no matter
always,
who you are.
And it's not opinion.
I want to open this. It came from the black hole, so I got that today.
Oh, you know what? Jeff? A gentleman came on this show and said the president of the black hole, he passed away. His name was Joe.
Oh, Raider Rob, right? Is that what he said?
Raider Rob passed away. He came on right before you came on. I asked you.
I go, say that, didn't he? Was it recently? I thought he passed away a few years ago.
Just right now, bro. Just right now, he came on my chat and said, "Just want." I'm gonna get to him right now. I'm looking back. He has a business, IG. It's called Slick Rick Cars and Detail. He goes, "Yeah, Robert Vera, president and founder, have passed away." That's what he said.
I'm seeing that now. Yeah, it says September 20th, 2021 on Facebook.
That he passed away that long ago? I don't.
Yeah, Black Hole Rob was the co-founder and global president of the Black Hole. Yeah, because that's who was in charge before Mark Jones took over.
Oh, he was saying R.I.P. my pops, Black Hole Rob. I don't know if it was at 10:49, so it was like 30 minutes. So I don't know if Slick Rick, if Rob was his dad.
Yeah, I don't know.
if he's recognizing him, as RIP, a while back ago, but I don't know why he would do that unless it happened recently. Maybe it was today, and then they're so that, or yesterday, and they haven't put it on there.
I don't know. That's why I'm looking through other messages right now.
Because I remember you said you had just recently got on the black hole.
Yeah, I took over the.
Jason Down said it was right after we left Oakland. That was a while back.
Yeah, as I say, I thought so. Based on what I saw, it wasn't recent.
Maybe it was. Maybe he's just RIP and I don't know. Yeah. I remember seeing that, but I don't remember.
I just took over the. I took over the New England chapter. I'm the president of the New England Black Hole chapter now. So I bought a vest the other day, but this just came in down today too.
All right.
So I got
you got one of them biker vests. You got a biker vest?
Yeah, I didn't go leather though. I went denim.
Denim.
I went with a denim. It's lighter. The leather ones, man, especially for my size, they weighed a freaking ton. I was like, good God.
Especially if it gets wet, man, it's gonna weigh you down.
It was also like $150 difference too between the leather and the denim.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
The denim has.
That's why you got
leather.
denim.
It's got leather trim. It's got leather trim around the collar, around the bottom, around the arms, and then where the pocket flaps are, those are leather too. So I'm going to get this to put on the back. So that came in today, so I'm excited.
Yeah, they got a.
I already got my.
Got a motorcycle group.
That's already.
You should have got one that said Hefe on it. Hefe.
El Jefe.
Yeah, you should have had that.
I got a few other patches I'll throw on there too. So
there's a group. There's a group. I have a couple of friends on that ride around on bikes and stuff that have vests and big old Raider symbols and shit like that on them. It's pretty cool to see them. Pretty cool. They're in Fresno.
I don't have a bike.
I think they're all over the place.
I don't have a bike, so it's gonna be me wearing the vest. So that's it.
That's dope. I heard Mikey over here with something I've been hearing also. Should we bring in Justin Williams? You familiar with Justin Williams? He's a safety.
No, I'm not.
I think he's a safety from Denver. And, it looks like I don't think anybody has a problem with Jeremy Chin as playing strong safety, but It looks like we don't have a lot of depth there, in my view, Jeff. But, Palomao's a starter. Justin Simmons is a starter. There's no, to me, there's no difference between what, as far as last year and this year, and we're getting the same guy, and we're getting a starter for. He's not going to want to. Justin Simmons is not going to want to be a backup for the Raiders. You're bringing him in to start for Palomao. What is your confidence? What is your confidence in Palomao, Jeff?
I think he's proved himself. I'm fine with him. I'm actually not that worried with the defense, to be honest with you. I think they're going to be okay.
Really?
Yeah, because you know why I feel that way? Because I think our offense is going to outshine our defense this year. I think our offense is going to be the main killer out there this year versus our defense. Whereas in the past year or two, it's been our defense that's held us in check. I think it's going to be our offense this year that's going to shine. I think we're going to put points on the board where the defense isn't going to be out there and getting stressed being on the field so much. And that's the problem we've had the last couple of years. The offense has been so inept that the defense is constantly on the field because we're going 3 and outs. We're turning the ball over. The defense is spending, more than 40 plus minutes on the field. That's ridiculous. That's unheard of. Whereas I think we've got the build on the offensive side to sustain longer drives, to give the defense more of a rest. I mean, granted, it's all still up in the air until we start, really settling into practices and see what everybody really, really looks like.
Yeah.
I've got faith in that offense this year. Somebody asked me the question the other night during, I think it was the Raider Connection show Wednesday night. They asked us, or Leo asked us all, if we thought the offensive line could be a top 5 offensive line. And I said, yeah, I do. I said, at least the top 10. He goes, really? I said, yeah, because think about it. Your offensive line is a product of whatever we do, especially in the running game. So let's just say, for the hell of it, just throwing numbers out there. Let's say Genty runs for 1,500 yards. All right. Wow. That's already way better than what we did last year. And if he's breaking runs on a regular basis for like 10, 15-yard bursts, even though he's not going up the middle and they're not really technically blocking and making holes for him, anything he gains in yardage, no matter whether it be inside or outside, that's a stat that counts in favor of your offensive line. How many sacks are they allowing? How many passing yards is Geno getting? How many touchdowns? That's all calculated into how good that offensive line is. Just the running game alone is going to propel them with Genty back there. If he's supposed to be untackleable like they say he is, that automatically is going to move your offensive line up in the rankings. So that's why I think the offensive line could be pretty dominant this year, or appear to be dominant based on what we've got for talent. Last year we had 2 guys to worry about when you threw the ball, Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. Now you've got threats that nobody's seen before. You don't know what they can and can't do yet. Yeah, they may figure some of these guys out by the second or third game as to what their weaknesses are because they're rookies. But I still think they're going to be decoys more than anything. You're not going to be able to double team Bowers every goddamn play. It's impossible. You can't now. Not with what we've got.
I agree with you on some of those thoughts, Jeff. But we're gonna be different in opinion all the time. You know what I mean? No, the way I am. This offensive line is real. I think we're in the best situation as far as depth is concerned than we were last year. But I think the running backs really, really, really affected us with our offensive line total. Because how could you be a good? It's weird to me how you could be good at pass protection, a 10, 11, 12 ranked pass protection offensive line, and then 32nd in rushing. That's impossible to do unless it has something to do with your running backs. And I thought our running back position was whack. It was the worst it's ever been. But now, with Mostert and Genty, because we've seen what those other guys could do, and it's potential. But I think that those 2 guys right there is going to be set our perimeter with Mostert. Mostert's not a real. Mostert gets away up the middle, and then fine, he's gone. We don't understand how fast Mostert is. One of the fastest at his age right now. He's one of the fastest men in the NFL.
Oh yeah, he's unbelievable. Blazing light speed. I mean,
yes, blazing speed, and almost like these young guys with like Thornton, and he's hanging up there with the guys at 30-something years old. So and then Genty we got to see. I was so happy that we got him. That I pushed it for a long time that we needed this guy, and now that we got that type talent, he's a rookie. He's gonna do rookie shit, and we might be upset, and I don't want to hear bust with Genty. Not on my shows. I don't want to hear that. So. We give chances to so many number 1 picks, and we're known for that. Genty deserves our because he's going to get the ball a lot. And then you hear Pete Carroll saying, hey, multiple running backs. It's not a running back by committee. It's going to see we're gonna give guys reps. But Genty is going to get the ball a lot more than running by committee is one guy gets it. 2 plays later, another guy. That's running back by committee during situations. It's like an issue like Cleveland had with the what's his name in Kareem Hunt and the other guy. What's his name? He got hurt and then it's like he was one of the number 1 picks of fantasy. But it's going to be that's a running back by committee where you got 2 good ones. You know what I mean? 2 Nick Chubb, yeah. two good ones. We ain't got a guy like Mostert's a perimeter guy, and Genty's all around breaking tackles, doing all of that. So that's important. But as far as you want to talk about depth, I'm not going by the depth chart, but my offensive line, and I wrote all this down, man. What I wanted, I wrote it down on my iPad. But what to look for about, I think that Parham would be a great left tackle, a good, not great, but I always say great, but would be a left tackle that will be starting because his best work in zone was with Miller with him. You know what I mean? And I think who's the better offensive line? Who's the best guard compared to Dylan Parham? You got Mumford and Meredith at that left guard spot. Well, Meredith could do both. And Mumford's gonna have to do both. They don't know what the fuck to do with Mumford. So why do you want a guy like that? He play tackle, that range is good, but Dylan Parham played the best at guard amongst those guys. And my other guard, people are gonna be surprised, is Kappa. Just again, you got those guys there, those same guys. You got Mumford, you got and you got the two rookies. But can you depend on those two rookies? Are you putting those guys in there already, Jeff, as offensive line concern?
No, I'm looking at possibly. I think Caleb Rogers is going to start at some point this season. I think he takes over one of those spots. If it's not before the bye week, I'm willing to bet by after the bye week, when we come out of the bye week, he's in that starting rotation on that offensive line.
By hearing the way you say things, I think he's going to replace Parham, right? Because I know you're not a fan of Parham.
I'm not. It all really depends on how Kappa turns out. Was last year just a fluke thing, or did he lose a step completely and he's going to be replaced quite quick? Right now, Caleb is number 2 behind Kappa. Mm-hmm. So I'm willing to bet if Kappa starts to fail or falter, they're not going to hesitate because they don't want to lose anything. If he's showing signs that he just can't get the job done and they feel confident in Caleb, then put his ass out there. What do you got to lose? Nobody's
you got a lot to lose, though.
Well, you do.
You as offensive lineman, I don't think.
It's not like we're like a superstar team where we're gonna make, where we're slated to make the Super Bowl and everything. This is still a new team, shit ton of new players. The only way you're gonna learn is trial by fire in some cases. And if you've got him between Glaze and JPJ, or Miller and JPJ, whether he plays left or right, you've got strength on either side of him that can help him out and help him figure his shit out faster. That's where I have the confidence is because our two weaknesses on the offensive line is the two guards, and they're stacked on either side of them. So they've got guys there with experience, the strength and the wisdom to help them. Whether it be Kappa or Parham or whoever, you've got guys on either side of them that have that experience and the ability to help them grow into that position or to at least be serviceable. This isn't like if we came out of a brand new offensive line, then I wouldn't be confident in Genty back there because you're going to get the shit kicked out of him or Gino. They're both going to get crushed if this was a complete, half rookie offensive line. Now you're talking a different aspect here. I still got confidence in the offensive line. I really do.
I do. Where a lot of people don't. The lineup I said, Jeff, I'm comfortable with that. But see, our problem wasn't pass protection. Our problem was running the football. And that had a lot to do with both sides. But now, as you look at Chip Kelly, he's a perimeter guy. He runs a wide zone. He's a wide zone spread wide zone. That means these guys need to move. Now, we don't know if Rodgers can move at this level. Those guards are very important. You're right with that. Kappa's done that. Parham has done that successfully, no matter what you think about Parham. Even Andre. Andre was a good was zone blocker, but people had their view on Andre. But now JPJ, we know could do that because sometimes you see Philly do it. That their center pulls too. That's
Mhm.
weird and that's brilliant if you got a center that could do that. But I don't know if JPJ could pull that off. But he's young. But with Rogers in there, Grant in there, and then Rogers in there, Glaze in there, JPJ in there. Look how young and inspiring that offensive line can be. If those guys, just think that those guys, Glaze, Grant gets in there at tackle, and you can have the old man Colton Miller on the other side, and then have Rogers on one side, and then you got young guys. That offensive line has the opportunity, maybe in a year or two, to be dominant. I'm talking top
and
three.
That's what I said the other night too. I said, we're going to go back just like everybody. Every team reevaluates what their draft was 3 years after the fact. So if we fast forward 3 years, we've got the potential for the 2024 draft and the 2025 draft to be 2 of the best, and we still don't know what we're going to do in the future, but 2 of the best drafts that we've had consistently back to back, and God knows how long for this team, where the draft picks hit. So we had 3 starters come off the draft board or come out of the draft in 2024. Okay. This year, we've got the potential to have 4, possibly maybe even as many as 5 starters come off this draft that we just had.
Yep.
And that's unheard of. It really is, if you think about it. That just goes to show you the level of talent that Pete Carroll and Spytek picked out of this draft, knowing that they can use these guys to the best of their ability and get in. Was it because of the overall need of what we had for positions? Yeah, but they made smart decisions on who they grabbed. I mean, Genty, going to be a starter. Porter, probably going to be a starter. Betch, probably going to be a rotational starting guy. Thornton is going to be that guy. And then now you start throwing in, what's his name? The 7th round pick, Lindenberg. He's making waves. There's a good chance you're going to see him possibly taking over the starting role at some point this year. He's already the number 2 linebacker for his slot. Then you throw Caleb Rogers into that mix. I mean, and we're talking not just 1st and 2nd round picks. You're talking about a potential 7th rounder that's possibly going to make, a rotational guy that's going to play a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, this is you look back at that draft right now and you just shake your head going, how the hell did we get some of these guys when we got them?
I give Telesco credit for that too. We have to give Telesco credit with that. And I think it stops there. I think Ziegler made some mistakes, but those guys are 3 years in, you know what I mean? And we're seeing not a lot of them get up there. But if we're going to sit here and say that the last 2 general managers that were running this team, even with the bad coaching we had last year, Jeff, those guys that they picked came up and produced, that means it wasn't coaching. It was them as athletes. That's why I always say, Jeff, that tells you right there what type guys a player has to be. That was the epitome of that, even with bad coaching. And you played football, Jeff, and I know you know what you're talking about, is that if you're a good player, you're going to show it on the field. You know what I mean? If you're a 1st, 2nd, 3rd round pick, you have to produce and be productive right off the bat. It goes down a notch every round, but if you have an injury or some problems mentally, those kids are 21 years old, 20, just like we have Devin White. Devin White is 25, bro. He was 19 years old when he was playing Pro Bowl, 19 years old playing Pro Bowl caliber shit. He could go back to that dude. He could go back to that guy, and I hope he does. He's in my lineup as I want 3 linebackers, and we can talk about that. But I want 3 linebackers on the field. I don't want this fucking nickel. You know what I mean? All the time. People think, we just play nickel all the time. That's a good thing. To me, it's not. But I want 3 linebackers in there, and we'll stop the run better, than we would with another DB, even though it's chin or not. But you know, just those that just shows you that
I'd rather have a big body linebacker in there than a corner in there or even a safety guy.
That's obvious. You know, that's obvious, and I understand people's views and what they want to say, but football wise, you know this, that 3 linebackers is better than a safety, no matter how big he is in there, because safeties play protection, even though you're strong or free, you're used to that. And a linebacker is thing is to get in that fucking hole and go get the guy. They're instinctive that way. And it doesn't matter if you're a 7th round pick. If you got that, then you're gonna be a good ass linebacker. You know, I've seen it. I've seen the light shine on guys that you would never expect. As soon as that little ping comes on their head and they start playing like a mad dog, you don't mess with them. All right, that's the way he is. That's it. You know, it happens. So it's happening for us. You know, for have Glaze go in there, you know, and produce the way he did. And, you know, we knew JPJ was a good player, but he became, hey, this guy's going to be an all-pro center, and this guy's he could have been an all-pro guard. But
when you got a player on your offensive line, especially center, where the refs are having to tell your coach you need to calm him down and to, you know, not be so aggressive. Fuck you, not be so aggressive. You know, if a ref comes over and complains, and my simple answer to the question to the ref is, well, did he do anything after the whistle? No. Did he do anything causing a penalty? No.
Yeah.
Then what's the problem? He's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. Be aggressive. Do what you got to do until the whistle blows. Whistle blows, you stop. Don't get penalties. You know, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's being overly aggressive, and that's how it should be. You know?
You're an offensive lineman, and they got to tell you to settle down. I think that's a good thing.
Hell yeah, it is.
We should be happy about
that. Offensive linemen are softer, and you know they're nice guys. And hell no, man. There's some offensive linemen out there that have been some of the nastiest players in the league, more nastier than defensive players. You know, a big example: Wisniewski. When Steve Wisniewski played back in the day, you didn't want to deal with him on a personal one-on-one level because he'd crush you and he would just make your life miserable. He was one of the nastiest players out there, you know, when it came to shit like that. You know, people think the defensive guys are the mean guys. No, trust me, there's some nasty ass offensive linemen out there. Like Jason Kelsey. I wouldn't want to go up against him. He'll maul you. You know, when he was in his prime, he'd maul you, just like JPJ's doing. He's going to maul you the best he can. The one thing I'm nervous about... Like that. Yeah, oh, God, yeah. You have to have guys like that. Guys that have that switch. They're on the sideline and whatever, and they're nice as can be. You look at them, they're smiling. They strap that helmet on and step over that white line onto the field.
You become crazy. You become crazy. That Brian Dawkins, epitome like Brian Dawkins, man. He's like, but a nice guy, religious guy, family man. Next thing you know, he wants to take your soul, bust your ass up, knock the body out of your soul when he's out there on the field. Dude, I love that shit. But these guys like that. I don't care what they say. I don't give a shit. He play like that.
You want to talk about one of the all-time greatest that was ever like that? I know some guys in the chat probably aren't going to know who we're talking about. Merlin Olsen. Right there. That guy was one of the nicest guys on the face of this earth.
Actor
He's a guy that would do flower commercials and then would go out there and when he was playing for the Rams and would just if he had to rip your nuts off and shove them down your throat, he would have done it. That's just the way he was on the field. But man, off that field, he's one of the nicest guys you've ever seen or heard talk. Those are the type of guys you need, and we've got that with JPJ. You know,
welcome, Jack. How you doing?
The one thing I am nervous about is what's going to happen with Colton Miller. You know, are we gonna
as far as contract?
Are we going to sign him before the season starts? If not, then we better start thinking about a plan now for what we're going to do at left tackle. Because if we end the season and we're still up in the air of what we're going to do for that, then we've already lost. We were already behind the 8 ball. You know, and I'm sure Pete Carroll's thinking of that. He has to be, because that's the focal point on your offensive line is that left tackle. They don't grow on trees, and if you don't retain him, because he's too good to let go, I'm sorry. You know, you name a better free agent or someone that's going to be a free agent next year at left tackle that's as good or better than Colton Miller. I'll sit here and wait because I don't think there is right now that's going to be available. You know, you ain't going to get it in the draft unless you get a phenom that's just unbelievable.
If we get into training camp, bro, and if we get into training camp in July and he is not signed, most likely he's going to hold out. He's not going to go, and he's going to get fined and all this bullshit. If we don't sign Colton Miller, I'm gonna go apeshit, and I'm gonna say, we're doing this again. We're doing this again.
You and me both.
And then we're gonna be all surprised and wonder why Colton Miller is not playing good in the beginning of the season. And when he does sign, get it done right now. Fuck all that other stuff, you know. So I'm gonna go apeshit on the organization. He deserved. What did Colton Miller do not to deserve money? I'm sure he's not going to be asking for top tackle money, but he deserves to get paid because he's an intricate part of our offensive line. Nobody that I know hearing, and you got to be out your freaking mind if you're saying, well, we don't need Colton Miller. We got somebody else to replace him. We don't, for one.
Nope.
And he deserves it. What did he do not to get that money? Just like I said about Spillane. Like, see, I'm saying his name right now. I'm saying
because he's not on the team now.
I even got bit personally. Maybe it was his family. His name is Spillane. They would put Lane on there instead of Spillane. I heard you say it yesterday on your live, the way I say it.
Yeah, well, I saw you in the chat. That's why I said it.
Yeah, the Low used to get on me with that. Low used to get pissed at me on show, though. You're Spillane. But he says every other name wrong too. It's like I was saying that. Like
when it comes to that, no, don't let him bust your chops because he's no better.
That's the only name I got wrong, and they like Jack Kenna saying every freaking name on our team wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jack Kenna says every name wrong. Wilkerson, who the fuck is that, Jack?
He still calls Farrell. You know, Farrell and Severe when they do
Farrell, the content. Yeah, I was saying Farrell.
Yeah,
It's
he
Farrell.
calls him Farrell. I'm like, it's Farrow. There's an H in there. It's silent, but it's Farrow, not Farrell. He throws L's in the name.
Shout out to Jack Kenna, man. I met that dude. He's a hella cool guy. I used to say Christian Wilkerson. Who the fuck is that? The wide receiver?
That's the wide receiver, right?
He didn't do shit. You know, he didn't do shit for us. How's he starting now? All of a sudden.
What's up, Ben?
But I say this, Jeff. I say, look, man, if we're gonna do this bullshit again about not signing our players that do things for us, and then there's no thing saying that he's still hurt. For what I know, he was there when he wasn't supposed to be there. You know what I mean? So when he's supposed to be there, I think if it's outlandish, they were saying, I was hearing some respectable content creators, or people that watch the Raiders, that keep up with the Raiders more than we do, say that they're not even close to money. So the habit of the Raiders right now is lowballing, I guess. We're getting guys for the cheap. They pan out. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. And are you asking cheap shit from a top tackle guy? We can say that Miller is a top tackle in this league still. And are we doing that to him? I think that's wrong. It reminds me of shit, and I don't want to be thinking that way about this team. I think bad because I'm used to it, Jeff, and I want to get out that mode. But I'm not. I'm expecting him to be signed and ready to go.
I am too. I am too, because there's a few different things here that weigh on this. Okay, as to why you would want to sign him. One, you never see him saying anything. He never says anything negative about the team.
Exactly.
He's the captain on the offense. He's that silent leader that leads by example on the field, in the locker room, wherever it's needed. He's that silent leader. The most I've seen him talk is this past season in the OTAs when he's come up and got to the podium. I've never seen him talk much more than that in the past. He doesn't post on Instagram. I mean, did you remember the last thing he ever put on Instagram? Nope.
I don't even have him on Instagram. That's how
you don't
much
even hear
I don't even have him.
You hear nothing negative about the guy. He's played his ass off for the time he's been here. Last year, yeah, he was hurt. Didn't look the same. But as the season went on, you could tell it got better. injury wise, he was doing a little bit better as the season went on, which gave me no reason to worry about going into this year with him. And second, another thing is, what do we got to replace him with? Currently on the roster, absolutely nothing. Like you've already said, there's nothing to replace him with. There's no free agent out there that's going to get you even close to what his ability is. There's nobody on the roster that I would even feel comfortable putting over there other than possibly moving Glaze to left tackle, and that's still a stretch because he's only been on the right side. And to do that now is not fair to Glaze because he's just setting Glaze up or anybody else on the team for failure, to be honest with you. Even his backup right now, Miller's backup, is a huge downgrade from him. So why would you even not consider re-signing? He should have already been re-signed. And I agree with you 100%. If it's not done before the summer practices start in July, then we're fucked. We're screwed.
Start bitching right off the bat.
Yep.
So, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm gonna say, why? I told you. If Geno Smith is getting the sack blown up his back, or don't get hurt without Colton Miller there. Don't just expect that to happen. Your quarterback he needs to be comfortable, but who's around there? And then he's probably telling the organization, "Hey, I need this guy. He should be. He should be. I need this guy that's all pro, that's been an all pro, and I don't give a fuck if it was just one time way back from now. But he's constantly being mentioned top." By other people, top notch. They do things differently defensively because of Colton Miller. And we need to recognize that as content creators. We can't sit here and say, fuck Colton Miller. We got somebody else we can go pick up. Sharif, or I've seen it right now, Hernandez, or they're guards. And then we have a problem with guards. It can be mentioned, but because it's different. We already know what Colton Miller could do. He was hurt last year. They didn't let him recover. He went in too fast. And but at the end, when he got healthy, he played better at the end of the season. And he's a very good run guy. See, offensive line nowadays, Jeff, if you paid attention to the way the schemes are now and the way up-to-date stuff, is that tackles, they just do what they do now, what they did always done. They're not expected to pull that much. They just got to get good feet and just slide. Get the guy and just slide with them. Guards are pulling, which you rarely seen before. You really didn't see
your guards and your center are usually the three smallest guys on your O-line anyway. Your tackles are your biggest guys. You need that beef on the outside. I'll tell you right now, though, the only time you saw me give any type of praise to Parham is on the very few plays last season where they pulled him in run plays. And I even said it on one of my shows after that game when I rewatched the game and I watched him pull. I said it during the game when I was watching it. I was like, God damn, look at him go. He was fast. He got
good footwork. He has good footwork.
Quick. And stayed ahead of the running back. I was impressed. I'm like, all right, finally I got something that I can praise him for, but the rest of his gameplay I think sucks. But but the other thing now, too, is you're an offensive coach, right? Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. You go into the season, like right now, they're doing all these practices and the OTAs and everything, and Miller's there. Miller's participating. So he's your left tackle. So now training camp, the official training camp opens in July. We haven't signed him. He holds out. Now, we've already got a game plan set for what we want to run. How much does that affect your game plan on the offensive side if you don't have him because he's sitting out? Now, how much do you have to alter your game plan because you don't have that solid base at left tackle now? Now you have to change your game plan now because now you have to consider, do we really want to run that way right now because he's not there? Or do we really want to go this type of passing scheme because he's not there now? We have to alter the whole entire offensive playbook at that point for the most part, not all of it. That has so many effects that people don't think about how much you can affect your offense with just one guy. Yep. And that being your left tackle being not there for the entire training camp and possibly holding out going into the season. That changes everything. It really does.
Especially when you got a guy like Colton Miller that protects the blind side of the quarterback, and then the trust issue of the quarterback as the first thing that's going to pop into Chip Kelly's mind. Can I throw the ball the way that I want to from the get-go? with Colton Miller not there, am I going to depend on Mumford, or am I going to move Glaze to the other side? That didn't really not left. The responsibility of being a left tackle when you have a right-handed quarterback is he's not going to see who's coming. So if you got a younger guy, a guy that has to prove himself right off the bat, if you were a defensive coordinator, what would you do? You would pick on his ass, and that's the
hell
worst.
yeah. I'd be teeing off for him with my best defensive end every goddamn play.
You're going to get your Watts. You're going to get your dude from Cleveland over there. You're going to get them guys a double pressure move. You're going to have stuff going on that side. All that shit's going to go inside, whatever you want to call. They're going to pick, and that's the thing you have to adjust drastically when you're that type guy is missing, because you're going to have a young guy in there and a guy that's not as good but you're going to have to work together. You're going to have to do things, double team guy, have a running back in there, to chip that outside guy if he is a great guy like the guys I mentioned. But also in the running game too, you're going to have to. It's like, well, damn, man. That's why it's so important to sign this guy. There's no question. There's no question in my mind that there's no guys out there like Miller, that you could get, and depending on a rookie or somebody that's not Miller is going to be drastic to this team. If you want to run the football, if you want to pass protect, it's when he was in there. That's the reason why we moved up, Jeff. The reason why we moved up in passing, because we were throwing the ball all the time, because that's all we could do. And for one, even with the shitty quarterbacks we had, and because Colton Miller was in there, that's the reason why. The right side, Glaze did an admirable job at it as a rookie. I praise him for that. A rookie doing shit like that is good. He was good in the run game, was good pass protection. Obviously, he would be our right tackle. But those guards, they move so much, and the whole thing about designing the way Chip Kelly is going to run with the outside zone is it's so important for that tackle just to seam up that blind side when you're running that way, because they can't catch it. These defensive ends could be on the other side of you and snatch a running back before he gets the ball. If you ain't got a good tackle there, you've seen it happen. Max Crosby does it all the time. And Max Crosby even really isn't. If you really notice, Jeff, that Max Crosby isn't really super duper athletic. He's not an athletic guy. His get off is supreme. His get off is supreme, and his moves are supreme. But he's not super. I'll go out on a limb, bro, and I don't like saying this, but number 9 is a better athlete than Max Crosby. We all know that. Tyree Wilson is a better athlete than Max Crosby. And I don't know if I'm going out on a limb saying that. I heard people say that before, but. It's just
I don't know. I get why you're saying it. I mean, with Max, he's not going to outmuscle you head to head. Tyree could. Tyree's definitely a stronger of the two. Because just look at Max. I mean, he's not. Look at JJ. He doesn't
blow nobody off the ball. He's just quicker.
Yeah. Like JJ Watt would actually push you into the backfield. Max isn't going to do that. Max is going to do the finesse. He's gonna try and scoop under you. He's going to do the swim move, shit like that. Like Howie Long type stuff. But Howie could overpower Howie. Howie Long was a different breed too. Howie had the finesse, but he had the power. To push you around.
Max Crosby doesn't have the power of Wilson. And I'm not putting Wilson in the limelight. Believe you me.
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
If you understand, if you look, that's one of the reasons they didn't pick him for that. As stupid as the pick was, and I don't believe in the pick because he was a hurt player, and I don't know why in the fuck we picked the guy. Just me talking about him, it irks me. But you have to say that, that you look at Tyree Wilson and what he does. Max doesn't have the power of that. Just imagine if he did. You know what I mean? What you see in Max, Tyree would have that. He would be dominant all over. I question his love for football. Does he pay attention? His work ethic, and that you need that to be supreme. Like look at what Max gets. I'm not saying Max Crosby isn't an athlete. Yes, he is, but as far as overall athlete, he's not better than Tyree Wilson. And if we don't know that, then we're crazy. Mike said he just unsubscribed to the channel because I said that. there you go, Mike. There you go, man. But look, you guys got to. It has to have, He has he has band, he has a takeoff, amazing, all pro.
Well,
pro takeoff.
When people still talk about Tyree, like, oh, we still need to see something. We're in year 3. We're starting year 3 of a number 7 overall pick. I was done with it before the season started last year. I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
When you pick somebody in the first round that high, like, could you imagine if they say, well, Genty's going to sit for you because you really need it? Screw you. Then why did we pick him at number 6? If in 3 years from now we're still sitting here saying we need to see something from Genty this year, this is year 3. Kiss my ass. We should have seen something from him the first game. Right away. We're waiting for a long time for these high draft picks like Tyree Wilson. Year 3 we're talking about. And he still hasn't had much of a significant impact on this team. Even Koontz, we still don't know what we're getting with him this season. Didn't play at all last year. We haven't seen him since those last 8 games of the 2023 season. So we still don't know what, we're going based off of what he did the last time he played. Yeah, he looks great. Everybody looks great in OTAs. They run around in helmets and shorts. Yeah, everybody looks awesome. Yeah, they're running the right routes. Yeah, there's no pressure. There's no pressure on the quarterback to have bad throws. And, once they strap the pads on and start smacking around and start getting physical with each other. And
that's when he falls off. That's when he falls off, Jeff, when you hear shit like that. When you strap it, you don't hear no more Tyree Wilson. So what the fuck is wrong with them? What you hear this, he's running around like a motherfucker. This and that, and little shit. But then when you start banging, you don't hear no more Tyree Wilson. Where's all this weight room monster? And
I think he's too soft at last name.
What's wrong with that guy? Are you a Jane?
I think
he's a Jane and not a Tarzan. What's wrong with you, bro? Are you softy?
He's too
we were
soft.
We were talking about guys that were tough
on the hard streets and Compton or something in LA. He needs to go somewhere where it's nasty and just get a set of balls and just be aggressive. Jesus Christ.
Tyree Wilson needs to get gangster in the defensive line.
That's what I mean.
And he's a defensive end right now. He's a defensive end right now. Backup at a defensive end. Our number 7 pick is a backup on our roster. And it's amazing to see.
Behind a guy that hasn't played in 2 seasons. Remember that.
And I give him just the fact of people saying that, he'll get it. Tyree, like I'm noticing Rock right now. I love Rock. He has great tapes, but I don't agree with that, Rock, because Tyree is monstrous to be a buzz. He'll figure it out. He should have figured it out the first fucking day. We should have figured it out when he was hurt picking him. We should have figured that
James,
out.
I don't even think he would be good at flag football. It just. I'm telling you, I just think he's too soft. He just, man,
got to get it. That light hasn't clicked in his head yet where he needs to. Like I said, the young guys that ain't big and they ain't click. I'm gonna bust these dudes in the face. That clicks. Might be mid-season or whatever. But how many mid-seasons have we expected time when you say fuck this guy? I'm done. I did that already. If he has a great year this year, then I'm gonna jump on that wagon and say Tyree's a man. He finally, but we don't have control of where he got picked. Obviously they see that he can fucking kick some ass. So kick ass. But we're expecting Thornton and we're expecting Besh and we're expecting Pegusta and we're expecting Tonka. We're putting them in there as starting guys, the rookies. The number 7 pick means that you're getting picked in 7th and 6th and
we're still saying we need to see something, or hopefully we see something. Whereas, like you just said, you've got rookies that you just picked in the draft a month ago or a month and a half ago that are going to be slated to start already. So
they are.
Come on,
they are.
Drives me nuts.
If I looked at this roster right now, and as much as I don't like Trey Tucker, I would start because of the upcoming situations that we're probably going to be in. Just with our division alone, just look at the masterminds that we have head coaching these teams, Jeff. You know, I know as a Raider fan, you want to say, well, we got this guy here, we got this guy here, and I understand that because I've done it for many years, Jeff. We've done that, and when you come to realize, and it took me a while, Jeff, to take my goggles off, my Raider goggles off, and say, you know what, we're fucked up. We're happy, hey. And Jeff, the Besh might ball out. He's a good player, man. He's a good player. He's up and coming, but he's gonna make mistakes. So when he makes these mistakes, when he makes these rookie mistakes, right? And we gotta understand that it's expected. It's expected. And you look at all these rookies that come up and get picked. He's a second round pick. He's supposed to be productive for the team, in my view. Thornton, he was a fourth round pick. And he's a fourth round pick. He has some development to do, but he could get into the games and do certain things in certain situations. In the long run, as he develops, boom, he'll be playing, starting in the game. There's a bunch of fourth round wide receivers that are in the game today that are all pros. I can guarantee you that. And there's a bunch of number one pick, first round pick receivers that ain't doing shit now. They're delivering packages to your front door. See, the development of those players and the coaching that we have is very, very super duper important in my book. And that's why, I'm not a fan of Trey Tucker, but I got him going before Besh. But the thing is because he knows more. All of them haven't got work with our quarterback, with Geno Smith. None of them have. So the experience of Trey Tucker, no matter how much I don't like it, I'm not a big Trey Tucker fan, but he's not an outside guy. We can't pencil Trey Tucker as an outside guy. Thornton is our outside guy.
So he's got the ability to rip the roof off of it, take the top off.
Yeah, he does that. But on a
old school Raider is what that is. That's something we haven't seen in a long time. From a legit wide receiver.
And what we see is yes. And what we see is that if we just see Thornton in Tennessee and we see Thornton of what he can, we visualize these and well, Thornton's just going to run a streak and he's going to get the 50-50 ball and that. I see Thornton doing a screen, and then if he breaks a tackle or two, or we do our job as receivers and offensive line, that opens up, and then he's gone.
Yep.
I know I'm going to get this dude. Just like I say about Mozart. You know what I mean? That's it. We got guys where that's it. If he gets open, it's open space now. It's not, throw the ball deep. But look at this, Jeff. The high percentage passing, that's what Chip Kelly's in. The percentage of the completion is more important. Look what can happen on a deep ball. And I'm not just specifically saying this is what he does, but the completion on a deep ball, there's three things bad that can happen, and there's only one thing good that can happen on a deep ball. He could catch it, score a touchdown, right? That's it. The three things is it could get intercepted, it could be incomplete, right? Or he could drop it and then the play's over. You don't lose field position, but the risk of an interception is way more higher than a completed ball for 5 yards, 15 yards, and him taking it to the house. The percentage is better for a guy like that. I don't care if he's 6'5". Tucker gets the ball midfield, he's gone, man. Now the DBs is not fast enough to catch him. That percentage, if you look at it, is way better than that. And then the asset of that is his being 6'4", 6'5", and running that, having a guy that speed is I would use him like that. Me, and I know 805 agrees with me, and a lot of other coaches agree with me. And you don't be surprised if you see Thornton, a 6'5", 6'4" guy, getting a little bubble screen, and it opens up for him, and then he gets 60, 70 yards just running. Would you love to see that, or incomplete deep ball? I would rather see that, and Tucker and Thornton together is like, I see them together as more and then you got a guy on the other side, Jacoby Myers, he doesn't drop the football, consistent for years, not dropping the football. If you got a sure-handed guy like that, Tucker, who can do things like bubble screens and in the slot, get in the middle of the field, get first down, a more of a possession type guy. Then you got Thornton that can get the 15, 20-yard guys, do a quick dig, come around, beat that corner, and, something happens where he's gone. He's going to get you yards. The dude had 26 catches, Jeff, and he got 600 and some yards, dude. Almost 700 yards.
5-yard average per catch. Well,
that is amazing.
Plus. That's insane. And here's the interesting thing. All these, you're naming these guys. And think about it. You haven't even brought into the mix yet Bowers, Maya, or Genty into the mix of all that. Or Moser. You're just talking those three players there. That's why I say this offense is going to be so different. Yeah. And how you brought up how, the rookies are going to make mistakes and everything. But you know how our fans are. As soon as they make a mistake, cut him, bench him. He sucks. Get him out of there. It's like,
see, that's this, Jeff.
Raider fans don't have the patience sometimes.
Jeff, that's this right here, bro.
Yep. They expect greatness from the moment that player, rookie or not, steps on the field. And it's not that way. It just doesn't happen. As great as, I hate saying this, as great as the Patriots were during their run, they had guys out there that made mistakes, but they didn't give up on them. And look at what some of them turned out to be.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's only a matter of time now. A lot of these Patriots players that retired from those teams, you're going to start seeing an influx of Patriots players. I hate it. That are going to make the Hall of Fame because of what they accomplished while they were there in New England. It's only a matter of time now, before some of them start getting spoken of. I mean, Seymour's already in.
They work together.
There's going to
They were like this. That
Brady's how many years out now? Brady's what? Still got 2 more years left before he's eligible?
I think Brady's done. He should be first ballot.
Oh, he's going in first shot. There's no ways about it.
I don't think he has to wait 5 years to be in the Hall of Fame. He should have got Hall of Fame when he was playing. You know what I mean? So, but ain't no one gonna be better than that. We have that knowledge and that impact.
What's up, Money Chuck?
We have that impact of him being an owner of our team, and that ain't gonna change. That ain't ever gonna change. But just the fact that when you brought up that we talk bad about these people, that's when I did this. Yeah, I went like that, and I said. And it was the DC situation. It was because of DC. I went like that, and I said, "This guy is fucking up. We're losing games because of him." And people might get mad. Watch OG's gonna be on there and say, "Fine, gravy," all this stuff like he usually does. But I love OG, man. He's a very respectful content creator. I love him. But that's the reason why I think differently about. Hey, these guys are rookies. They're gonna make mistakes, and we got to understand that. And if we can understand that and just be on the positive side of it and say, hey, he's a rookie, he's a dude, unless something, you don't, it's out in the open where you didn't do the right thing, and you could tell of where you're supposed to be, because pretty much if offenses or defenses, you could see that you're supposed to be at a certain place at a certain time. Sometimes you can't be there all the time. And those mistakes will happen. Or you got a defender or a defensive coordinator that knows the shit. And we're playing a lot of those. We have a lot of those that on our division alone. We this offense, as bad as we were, we gave Spagnuolo problems. Bowers is a problem, and I didn't even mention Bowers. When I talked about those guys.
That's what I mean. You don't even bring him up, and you still had him. Michael Mayer. Genty. Moser.
Like Bowers,
and even the ability of Geno to run if he has to. So that's why I'm telling you. I think our offense is going to outshine our defense this year. I don't think
usually it's the other way around in training camp,
because we still have lack of depth on the defensive side. I still feel okay with the defense. Going into this year, I still think we're going to be fine with Wilkins or not, because we've got guys that can fill that void. It's a different feel overall. Yeah, I have.
That, Joe. I think you got to look. We got If Wilkins isn't there, Jeff, that's going to be amazing. Okay, you could say these other guys are capable of doing that, but Christian Wilkins is going to be a drastic. If this shit is true, it's going back and forth, man. So what's going on here? You know what I mean? I can't say let us know something. They're not going to say nothing because it's gonna. You're basically losing a lot of Wilkins isn't there. You're losing a lot. Then you got to start thinking, well, what makes me more is he did some dumb shit and got hurt, bro. You know, I can't get over that. I don't know how other people are thinking. He did some dumb shit. You know, it was his injury was over some dumb shit, and
yeah, it was the leapfrog, wasn't it? Wasn't it that? And
yeah, some shit like that. It wasn't a play. It was celebration type thing, and the dude's getting $100 million, so it's expected of you. I expect Raider Nation to say, "What the fuck is wrong? What's up?" You know, I'm not saying anything medically. Or the big dude with the hurt foot automatically is bad, Jeff. We know that. You 300-something pound guy with a hurt pinky toe, you know, the bones in your foot is bad all the time. Bad. It's gonna be a reoccurring thing. We got damaged goods now. You know, I think that, but I think unless somebody steps up, you know, like Wilson, you know, like these other guys we got, you know, if they need to. We'll get rid of a Pro Bowler is getting not going to be able to be there. We ain't got a guy that's half of that to take his place. You know, and not only does he stop the run, he pass rushes too.
Yeah,
we don't have a guy to replace that.
Well, I mean, who's the where is it?
I got the depth chart right here.
I got it right here too. I mean, Lalau last year when he had to fill in, I thought he did damn well. That kid, you know. So if he's the one that's filling in and playing alongside Butler, we could be okay there. I'm not saying he's the definite answer. Don't get me wrong. But when he played last year, he had some really good games, and that was towards the end of the season too, when they really got him in there. You know, he had some fairly decent games for being pushed into play time. You know, with a full season, with a full off season of OTAs and actual practices as the starter, if Wilkins isn't there, if Wilkins doesn't need surgery, I don't want him touching the field until day one.
I'll put him on injured reserve, bro. I'll put him on injured reserve and let that foot heal.
There should be somebody designated at that facility that if he tries and walks out of the locker room with cleats on to get on the grass, they push his ass right back inside the building and tell him to sit down. You're not touching nothing. Just eat well, ride the bike, and shut up. Don't touch anything on the field. We don't want you running. We don't want you walking. Yeah. We don't want you anywhere near where someone can step on your foot either and screw it up even more. So go sit your ass down and shut up.
Well, we have a guy that I didn't even know was on the team. We got it from the Bengals. You know, his name is Zach Carter. It's not Andre Carter, but it's Zach Carter. I didn't know nothing about him. He's not on our depth chart. Okay, that was from the ESPN one. But when I look at, let's see here. When I look at the Athletic, and they're the projected 53 man, we have this Zach Carter. That's the first right out the bat out of these three guys, because they got Wilkins, whatever the name is. I don't want to disrespect Leaky, and then Adam Butler as our, you know, if we get down to a three defensive line. You know, usually there's two, or we do the 4-3, but you know, if we have three guys there, one of them has to be a linebacker. But I think they just put three there just because, you know, Leaky's playing good. He's doing good. He's a nose tackle. And Christian Wilkins is a defensive tackle. But our nose tackle is going to be Leaky. And Adam Butler is going to be on the outside. You play outside. But I don't want, you know, there's a drastic difference between Christian Wilkins and Adam Butler. Do you see that? There's a drastic difference between them two guys. When we've seen Adam Butler get a sack, he clogs up. He does his job. You know, people have this notion where defensive tackles, it's a luxury to get a sack as a defensive tackle. You know, it's a luxury to have a guy like that, like Christian Wilkins, that does that. That's why he gets paid a lot of money. But you have to be able to hold up that, get people off your defensive end, your pass rusher. Take all those guards and tackle. You know, the tackle puts a hand on you, they're worried about you. Christian Wilkins takes up space and he stops the run. It's a luxury to get a sack as a defensive tackle. You get paid a lot of money to do it. That's why Christian Wilkins got paid, because he does that. Adam Butler got the money he got because he clogs up the middle. He does what he has to do. And Leaky does that too, holding up the center. He doesn't have nothing to do. You know, he just boom. That middle is
forcing things to the outside where your ends and your linebackers clean it up.
Yeah, I'm not expecting Leaky to be outside getting outside tackles. It's great if he can do that, you know. But you see Tyree doing that as a defensive tackle because he's an athlete and he get there, and that's what he's a good, decent run stuffer. But the pass rusher with Tyree Wilson, we lose a lot.
He seems slow to me. He just doesn't have the speed, is what I see.
I think he gets there. He gets there at times, though. You know, and just clogging up that line of scrimmage is all he needs to do.
Yeah,
that's why we had this notion of Clelin Ferrell. Oh, he was a bust. Yes, as a pass rusher, but you know, out of that Clemson team that won the national
championship, as people made him out to be. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, he was, because we drafted him as a defensive end again, just like Tyree Wilson, and you know, and that team, that Clemson team, and that national championship team, Christian Wilkins was the better defensive player than Tyree Wilson. Oh no, then Clelin Ferrell was, because Clelin Ferrell and Christian Wilkins were on the same college team, same year, national championship, and Christian Wilkins was better than Clelin Ferrell. We got Clelin Ferrell so high, well, I would have got Christian Wilkins instead, you know. But it was, that just shows you that the incompetence we had as an organization to pick guys like that, you know. Christian Wilkins got paid for what he did in college, went to a team, balled out in Miami. We paid him for it. And we haven't seen what we got. Are we going to start saying, oh, this guy's hurt again for doing some dumb shit? Now, mind you, that's the thing that's on my mind. You did some dumb shit. You know, if you made great plays and you did things, I wouldn't be mad at your injury. But you did some dumb shit and you got hurt, and it's still lingering around. So is this Clelin Ferrell shit again? You know, is this bring back? I'm not gonna start saying that, Jeff, because I expect a lot from him. But him not being there, our defense is going to be very, very different, because the guys I see behind him, this, you know, Tonka and Pegoose, where they play, they're defensive linemen. But Tonka is 280 pounds, you know, and Pegoose is barely 3-something. So they're quick and move. You know, I don't know what type of athletes they are, but
can we just address something real quick here? Only because some are in my channel, some are in yours. Can we just move on from freaking fighting over a damn fucking profile picture?
Who's that? Whose profile picture?
Firpo's got a profile picture of Donald Trump, and some people are upset. It's a rated. It's a profile picture. It's not like he didn't come in here screaming and yelling Trump this, Trump that. It's a profile picture. It's a Raiders chat. Who cares what people have for their profile picture? That's what they want to put up. They put up their profile picture. I don't care if people come in with a political picture. It doesn't bother me as a content creator. I'm sure it probably doesn't bother Gravy. I'm not going to kick anybody out of my channels or shows because that's what they have for a profile picture. I could care less what they have.
Hey, man.
It's when they start talking about it in the chat, that's different. That's not what this is about. This isn't a political channel. That's my take. Gravy, if you feel different, I know it's your show. But I just don't want to see infighting over something so lame. And I get it, it's a hot button, but still, you know, it is what it is. There's already enough divide in this
My partner Gabe in the house, man. What's up, Gabe? Something to his show, man. Something to Red Nation Live. Something to Jeff's show. Very moving fast up the content creator charts with his subs and stuff. He has great shows. Yeah, whatever. He got about 9 shows he's on all through the day. Glad for him to jump on mine. Glad for him to
Feels
jump
like it sometimes. Although, you know what? A few months ago, like leading up to the draft, I swear Chris and I were on every day. But again, there was a lot going on, though, too. You know, it was talking about what trades we're going to try and do, and draft picks, and players, and mock drafts, and now we're at that. we're at that slow point right now.
That's why, you know what, we were talking about the. There's a guy out there that I've always said that was a disappointment, but he's doing better than what we have, and it would be something that I would be interested in that people might laugh at. But the production on a bitch ass team that he was on was productive for this guy and what he is, and that's John Donovan Clowney. He's a free agent. He played for the Carolina Panthers. Now there is not one defensive lineman that had 46 tackles on our team.
I'm all for it. I would take why wouldn't you take a flyer for 1 year?
Mm-hmm. Now
guess what? It'll help solve the Wilkins problem.
Yeah,
it's not going to be the answer. It's not going to be the answer, but it will help you. It will definitely help you.
I'm more comfortable.
Process. Yeah,
I'm more comfortable. A guy that underachieved. We'll have 2 guys on the same level, because when he came out in college, if you remember him, Jeff, he was supposed to be he built just like the guy. There's a guy, he's just like Tyree Wilson, but he's done more. He's been on several teams. He was with Carolina Panthers, that bullshit, sorry ass organization, and he had 46 tackles as a defensive line. They consider him a linebacker, but he had that many tackles, and no one on our team even got close to that.
No,
he had more tackles than Crosby.
The cost, because he was costing too much. He was more of a salary cap victim for most of the teams he was with.
I don't know how much he makes. I don't know how much he makes, but just for I don't know if it's just me feeling better, bro. It could be. It would be, different. I mean, we could get a guy like that. I think Max Crosby, they have that much tackles. They had 46 tackles, I don't think. Where's he at? Where's my John Donovan Clowney? Last year, he had a combined 46 tackles last year, 5.5 sacks. Who was close to that on our team besides Christian Wilkins with the minimum games he played? The production is there. The production is there, and if we lose Christian Wilkins, this will be a big, big fall off unless one of these young guys step up and take over that. I'm expecting that. But
yeah.
God damn, man. And then also, are we comfortable, having Thornton out there?
Would you say how many tackles did he have solo?
Assisted, combined 46, assisted 22.
All right, Max had 45 combined, 28 solo.
How many tackles did Max Crosby have?
How many what? Tackles?
How many tackles?
45 combined, 28 solo.
Look at that.
Yep.
Same position.
But again,
he didn't
play the
limited games.
The year before that, Max had 90. So
limited games. But we know that Jonathan, we know Clowney is a Max Crosby. He's way older. So he's 30-something years old. But
I'll tell you what, when Clowney was coming out and he was in the draft, I was hoping we were going to get him that year.
He was a number 1 pick. Yeah, I think he was a number 1 pick.
That's a guy I wish that we could have gotten.
But he's a disappointment in the NFL. But I was just thinking, like, okay, he gets paid. I don't know how much he gets paid, and I'm not really into it like that. But if we had problems on our defensive line, I would say, you know what? I think Donovan Clowney, with that amount of tackles, that would be great to have. Just kicking it, and then that's the type player he is. He ain't going in all the time. It'll be just like Tyree. We get a productive Tyree Wilson.
And I honestly
That is
thought
that big.
I honestly thought he was going to be awesome for Houston when they grabbed him because
Yeah.
you figure he's playing opposite of J.J. Watt, or he's playing with J.J. Watt. J.J.'s getting double teamed all the time just because of who he is. You think you can make a name for yourself because you're going to pick up the slack where, J.J.'s getting all the attention and didn't really produce that way. It seemed like it was going
to, and then it
just figured out so fast, Just
didn't J.J. Watt after him?
No, J.J. was before him. J.J. Watt was there for a while before he got there.
I think Clowney got picked same time we got no. It was 2014, I think he got it. But
Clowney's been in the league that long already? 2014?
I think he's been in the league that long.
Really? I didn't think he was in
Yeah, he's been on a bunch of teams, bro. He's always a free agent. Yeah. I don't know if it'll stick. I don't know if it'll stick, but just like I say, receiver wise, I think we need another. I think we need another receiver. And there's a lot out there. They get money. Like Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is a guy that's consistent, tall guy, big guy. Let's go see this dude. He's on the cheap. So we're in that Raiders in a budget mode. Go get this guy. Let's make that other side of I'm iffy with a rookie starting. And I have problems with that, especially two. We're putting Bash and Thornton out there. Unless they have amazing rookie years. I hope they do, But I'm like, gosh, you're asking a lot, and if we're saying our offense is going to be dope and we have two rookies in there, don't get disappointed when rookie shit happens and you get pissed off because it's going to happen. It's gonna happen. These guys ain't fucking Chase or Jefferson or Amon-Ra. They're not those type guys. They can be, and I hope so. But Jeff, I just don't like. Even from free agency, I didn't like we're on a budget shit. I don't like people saying, and I don't know if you agree with this, but it was known. We were happy that we got three linebackers with, for the price of Spillane, and none of them had besides Pratt. I was good with the Pratt pickup. In a hole, I brought up. I don't know if you looked at my shows, but I brought up his coverage availability, and it was non-existent.
Yeah,
and we get on shows and we say, we need a coverage linebacker. How many content creators have been saying we need a coverage linebacker? We need someone that could cover.
Pretty much everybody.
And how disappointed were you when you see the Raiders be in a situation of 3rd and 20, 3rd and 18, 15, and a tight end will go right down the middle of the fucking field, 10 yards out and get that first down. Or
in all defense, I mean, how often did a tight end not do well against us?
Exactly.
That's always been. It seems like no matter what era we look at it, whether it's the current era or go back 15 years, we've always had a weakness against tight ends. Look at how many years Antonio Gates owned us. Look at how many years Tony Gonzalez, when he was with Tampa, with KC, he owned us. Kellen Winslow back in the 70s. You're going way back. We still have never had success against tight ends. And now, fast forward to now, you got Jason Kelce. You've got Kittle. You've got all these different tight ends. You got Andrews from Baltimore. You've got all these different tight ends in the league that are even more athletic than the tight ends from years ago. Back then, the tight ends back there were not used like they are now. Now they're more athletic tight ends. Look at our tight end, Brock Bowers. Who the hell can match up with him? There's only been one team that shut him down because they put a cover guy on him like Surtain. Not everybody has a Patrick Surtain on their defense, all the luxury where they can do that. I'll tell you right now, Denver can't do that this year. They can't come up with that game plan this year, now with what we're putting out there for offense, because now we've got threats on the outsides. We've got threats at a running back. We can switch out of a pass play and run an option. Yeah. And they're not going to expect that. So what good is that going to do them now? So it's a completely different situation this year. But going back to the defensive side, we've never been able to be good against tight ends. We might get an anomaly. Look at Kelsey last year. Kelsey was sucking it up from the start of the season until when? Till he played us. Once he played
2 games, he got 100 yards.
Yep. And that was his right game was against us, like it always is. If he has a down, starting off with a down year, as soon as he plays us, he steps it up and then he sails the rest of the season through.
That's expected. It's a Raider Chiefs game. I understand that. It's a Raider Chiefs
tell
game.
Me I'm not wrong, though, that we've never really had
You're right.
Tight ends, ever.
You're damn right.
No matter when.
I'm tired of it. I've been tired of it. And that's why I wasn't with, Patrick Graham being retained because of that. And there was a lot of other things. I thought it was coaching. But Patrick Graham was a part of that last year. We thought he was strapped with McDaniels. What the fuck happened last year? Injuries, I understand that. I think
it was a lot of it with the past year was definitely injuries. You had players playing out of position just because of necessity. And not for nothing, they really didn't do much to bring in help to him as far as players go. This year, you can see the concerted effort to rebuild this defense in a different light. You've got bigger, stronger secondary guys that we'd never had before. It was always smaller guys. I mean, some of these guys back there, there's some big, heavy hitters. There's some big boys back there that are going to be able to really
Malamau and Chin. Chin is a big boy. I seen him in Bakersfield. He's a big guy.
A guy that can go up against, guys that can go up against like a Sean Jefferson and do some damage and possibly shut him down. They can go against Ladd McConkey and keep up with him speed-wise too. To be honest with you, I think the secondary is going to be much more improved versus last year. I still think we're going to be a little weak at linebacker in a way.
Yeah.
But are we really? We don't have Divine Diablo, so he's gone. So really, the big weakness is filling that Spillane spot. Who's ultimately going to be that motor in that linebacking room like he was?
I think Pratt in that sense, the motor, extinction.
That's what I'm thinking.
Getting to the line of scrimmage, you got that in Pratt. You got it in all of them. You got it in Roberts and Divine, and White's. Devin White's that way too. Devin White's a more sideline to sideline guy, line of scrimmage, sideline to sideline guy. So if you get a guy like Mostert, or you get a guy that's fast like that going on the perimeter on the outside, Devin White can get there, right? But
if he doesn't take the right angle, he'll never get him, though. That's the problem.
Yeah. And Pratt has a problem with angles. He has a problem. I don't know if you can look. I don't think Spillane had 19 missed tackles last year.
I know you said that last night too.
That's and I got hit with Gravy. You're saying it. It's a stat. It's a stat. And when you needed to throw the ball, if you look, and the first thing will pop up. The first thing, the first option you get to look at Pratt, it's going to say that quarterbacks threw at Jermaine Pratt because they had a quarterback rating of 103 point something, and that's like 89 passes thrown to him, and they completed 80%.
Mm-hmm.
So he's known not to be a coverage linebacker. Who is gonna sew up that middle of the field? And it doesn't look like Pratt's gonna play Mike. It looks like Roberts is gonna play Mike linebacker. He's gonna be more of an outside guy. It looks like it on the depth chart.
Yeah, that's what they got him set for.
So
They
and
got
then I
Pratt
believe,
playing weak side.
and I think Eichenberg is the other guy, the third linebacker. See, that's what I want. I want
He's
to,
the
and
third
it said,
Mike List, Eichenberg.
yeah, I want to be in a 4-3 base defense. You know, that's what I want. I don't want us to be a nickel because, and you bring a smaller guy, and believe you me, Chin is
Yeah, you're talking
smaller.
Darnay Holmes is the nickel on this.
Darnay Holmes is our slot guy. People have problems with that, but I thought nobody's going to be a Hobbs. We're not going to see that type guy there. So we could say Chin could play slot. He's a safety,
Mm-hmm.
so he needs the cover. You know, and if you bring him in the box, it's easy to say that, but that's not the way a 4-3 is designed to run. We got to look. It's just when you explain football to people, Jeff, it's weird because you could say, "Yo, Chin will come in the box and then sew it all up," you know. But if you look and into what a 4-3 base defense, that's what it says we are. If you look at the depth chart, it says 4-3 base, right? That's what it says. The defense. And then what the fuck are we in nickel all the time? Why do we
Actually,
run
no, they're saying base is 4-2. They're saying a 4-2.
a 4-2? Well, it's saying a 4-2-5. That we're in nickel.
Yep.
That means you got
So
five
it's
DBs out there. That's a
4-2.
nickel defense. So it changed me because it said 4-3 base on mine.
Yeah, I'm showing 4-2.
But you'll if you have good linebacker play, you could be in a 4-3 and let your four guys in the back cover. And we have a problem with our safeties could cover the middle of the field. If we take one out and just think that he's going to cover these tight ends that are new days, yeah, maybe Chin can or Palamau can.
What are you using for your depth chart? Are you looking at our lads?
I'm looking at ESPN.
All right, because I got our lads up, and they're showing a 4-2. So they got Crosby, Butler, Wilkins, Kuntz on the. Then they've got Pratt at weak side, middles Mike's Roberts. Then they've got left corner Jacorian Bennett, Jeremy Chin strong safety, Palomar free safety, right side Eric Stokes, and nickel is Darnay Holmes. That's what they've got.
You don't have a problem with that?
I don't like having a nickel. I'd rather have Devin White out there or Lindenberg, preferably White. I'd rather be running the three linebackers at least.
Well, when I looked at updated, because I just try to go for the nutshell. I ain't looking at a bunch of the depth charts. I just go depth chart of the Las Vegas Raiders as of now, and it came up with this ESPN Las Vegas Raiders. You can see the transactions, you can see the homepage, you can see everything, right? So I trust ESPN, and then when I'm looking at it, it says yes, right, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end as far as offensively, and then it says a base 4-3 defense. That's what it says on mine. You know, so if that's the case, then our third linebacker is Tommy Eichenberg in there as 4-3. So where's Devin White? As far as being an outside guy, I would have Devin White out there. Let's Eichenberg's lighting it up.
Yeah.
Maybe he's developing and lighting it up. Lindenberg is right behind. Lindenberg's playing Mike right behind it. You have that. Lindenberg's right behind Roberts. That Mike.
Yeah, they do. They have Lindenberg right behind Roberts.
And then I got Pratt at Willie. Pratt's Willie, and then he has Devin White right behind him. So Devin White's on outside. Devin White's on any outside of those, the Willie or the Sam. I'm cool with because he can get outside. He could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they got Porter behind Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
They got Richardson behind Stokes.
Mm-hmm.
Lonnie Johnson behind Chin. Thomas Hopper behind Palomar.
You see, that's a problem for me. That's why we're mentioning, Simmons. That's why we're mentioning him. You're seeing all that Simmons could be, a piece that I heard Metro Ren say it. I heard a lot of other guys say that, hey, Simmons could come to the Raiders, and that'll be that'll be something that we can look at. I'm for it. You know, he's Denver guy, so he could probably tell us a little bit about him. But if you're gonna say that
they put Trey Tucker in as the punt returner now, because the other day they had Tommy Mellott doing both punt and kick returns.
Yeah, you know, that's like, you know, you want someone that's done it before in there. Rookies, things can happen, Jeff. You know, things can happen with rookies that's new during game time, and I feel that same way with
Rob opinion.
What do you say? All right, everyone. In the words of Coach Gravy, have a freaky Friday. I'm out. Stay blessed. Yeah, I said have a freak off Friday. If you know what that is. We've been watching Diddy in the beginning. I watched that, man. I'm watching that court case on the side eye. I'm seeing what happens there. I'm telling people in the music industry or whatever are freaking crazy. They're crazy. They're doing some weird shit.
Let me ask you this: we haven't touched this subject yet. What's your overall feeling on if we were still in the hunt for Jalen Ramsey? Are you for or against?
I'm more against because I know it ain't gonna happen.
What if Miami can't get a trade with anybody and they finally decide, listen, it's going to kill us in the cap, we got to do something, and they just finally cut him? Would you go for him?
Yeah, that was the opportunity. That was the opportunity, but he's not. Again, Jeff. Look. I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna take my glasses off, and I'm gonna take my Raider goggles off, and then the way we've been moving is that it looks like the Raiders are on a budget. We're on a budget. And we think that everybody that comes to the Raiders is going to take a hometown discount. We think that there's a reason why this dude, Jalen Ramsey, makes $20 million. So just because he's coming to the Raiders, and we know he wanted to come to the Raiders, and we know about all this.
He wanted to be drafted by us, basically. That's how bad he wanted to be here.
Yeah,
I don't know how he wanted to be here at that time because we were just such a shitty ass team. But
every time Jalen Ramsey is in this type of situation, the Raiders are always in it. And he never comes here. Why?
I mean, I can see the last couple of times why he wouldn't come here. Number one, he went to the Rams and they were ready for him to win a Super Bowl. So of course, going there was a smart move on his part because he got his ring.
Yes.
Other than that, at the time that before he went to Miami, would you really want to come and play for this team? I mean, granted, I'd play for any NFL team if given a chance. Doesn't matter to me. But would you want to come to a totally dysfunctional team like this? I'm sure there were friends of his that were on this team that told him, don't waste your time. You know, just like certain coaches in the past have been told, if the Raiders can call him, don't take that job. It's just a dead end job. You're not going to last long. That's why we couldn't get good coaches in the past, and why we had to do a rehash of a John Gruden or bring in fucking knuckleheads like Josh McDaniels. You know, because we could never get legit coaches in here that were worth anything because who wanted to put up with this crap? You weren't getting any help from the ownership. So same goes for players. I'm sure there's plenty of players on this roster that have told other players, don't do it. You're going to kill your career if you come here. You're going to get stuck in a rut and you're going to hate every minute of it. You know? So, yeah, I think the last time he was looking to make a move, it wasn't the right fit. Right now, I think it would be the right fit for him because he could come in right now, be our number one guy in that secondary, be that super veteran presence with tons of experience. He doesn't have health issues like Jair Alexander, which is why I was so sour on bringing him in. I didn't trust that kid for nothing with the injuries. I don't want that. We've already got enough of that shit. We've had one good offseason now where we haven't been bringing guys in with these questionable injuries. You know, you've got a guy that you could get for a draft pick, you know, as long as it's not ridiculous, restructure his contract, you know, make it incentive laden if you have to, you know, put the guarantee money on it from the owner, let him pay for that. You know, that's where you're going to help is when the owner
do something like that, Jeff. Yeah. If they do,
that's what I mean. They're going to have to redo his contract no matter what. You know, and again, he's still, just like Dixon just said, he's still in that age group of the guys that we were just all talking about for the last few weeks that were going to be available. 28, 29, and 30 years old. They're all three guys that we were talking about, or all four guys are in that same age bracket. You know, that was Pratt, that was Alexander, there was Griffith, and it's Ramsey. They're all in that 28 to 30 range where they're still not too old. You know, none of them are really. Even Ramsey at 30 years old, he's still got plenty of time left. You know, you've got him for a few more years if you want, with no problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have a problem getting him at all. You know? Not at all.
Well, if that was the case, that there's no legit people saying that Jalen Ramsey is an issue for us. There is evidence and things like that Shaquille Griffith is here, is in the facility, is working out, you know, and that being like the spending that we're doing, because it'll be oddball, Jeff, if we come up here and we pay this guy a corner, even if it's $15 million, $17 million, you know, if he's going to take a pay cut to be a Raider, then you know, we're not doing those type things right now. We're not doing that. And we're going to sign a guy for $17 million we've been doing 1 year contracts. So he's not going to come here unless it's a long-term thing, which we're not doing, you know, we're not doing that. So we're going to change the way we're working for Jada. Is he that much of an asset to us than a guy that could come in, do a decent, good job that you won't bitch at for being a 1 year player in Shaquille Griffin? That'll probably come in and be better than Stokes and probably better than JB at this point now.
Yeah, I mean, I know money has
talent value is going to be drastic, bro. It's going to be Ramsey. You want one of those guys on your team, you know, but you're going to pay money for him. You're going to have to. You can't disrespect the guy. Nickel and diamond the dude. He ain't gonna take that, and that's why he never came to the Raiders, because we nickel and dimed him, and he got paid $20-something million. He deserves that money. So why were we saying, oh, he comes to the Raiders on a team-friendly deal? Give him some incentives. What if he doesn't, you know, have the amount of plays or things like that? You know, we don't think that you're a decorated veteran Pro Bowl so many times and say, oh, well, you're going to come to the Raiders and we're going to give you an incentive base. You have to do this to make that money. He's going to say, fuck no, I'll go somewhere else. I get paid. Players want to get paid. They're not giving out discounts.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you do
guys
or like them a lot of guaranteed money up front type of thing too, you know.
It's going to be what he's
if we did bring Ramsey and we put him at safety, not at 30 years old, I wouldn't. I'd put him at one of the corner slots. Preferably take a back seat, Stokes. Sorry, put him out there opposite of Bennett, and there's your starting corners. At least if you get him for say 3 years, and then you want to keep him, and then eventually move him to safety, I don't have a problem with that either. But right now he'd be too valuable as a corner. I mean, that would just change that whole secondary, if you ask me.
I'll be down for Shaquille Griffin. If we get Shaquille Griffin,
I'll be okay with it. Don't get me wrong.
Makes our defensive back better. The money's there. It's a deal for the Raiders. What they want to do, and it looks like that they're in a habit of getting players like that. And then if we go get a starter, if we go pick up somebody in the draft or a big time free agent guy when we got a lot of money, that's when we should do it. We should. I don't want to waste any assets because we're still building our team with this regime, And to get a guy like Jalen Ramsey, he ain't gonna do I don't think that he's gonna do a 1 year deal. He's not that type guy. He's not. We're gonna rent a guy for 1 year, and unless he gets you do 1 year, you're gonna get a guy like him is gonna get more money from you.
You're not going to get Ramsey for 1 year. It's just not going to happen.
He's going to want. He's going to want 2 3 years.
That would be disrespectful to him. You can't have him come in for a 1 year contract, and not of a player of his caliber and his talent.
Yeah,
but that's just I think that's kind of a slap to the face.
Instantly better. Instantly change our DB room around as far as Russ is concerned. instantly. And then you
I
got to
don't think
get
I
a
would
guy that
mess
matches.
with any. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't mess with anything else on the defensive side in that secondary other than put him opposite of Bennett, and Stokes takes a backup role, and you keep Chin and Palomar at safety and free safety, and leave the linebackers just the way they are. You know, because I know Money Chuck was asking about moving Chin up to linebacker. I wouldn't do that. I would keep him where he is. I would keep him in the
I'm
safety.
done with that. I'm done with that hybrid shit. I'd rather have a linebacker.
I know he's got the skill to do that, and I know he has done it in the past. I respect that. But I would keep him where I think he'd be more useful, and that's playing in the safety spots. I think he's too valuable to put back to move out of that spot, especially when you get the three linebackers that we're looking at right now as the potential three-star system.
I hope so. I hope we could get three linebackers in there, Jeff, and that'll be if you would know. You know, look, we're going to stop the run, Jeff. If we don't stop the run, me personally, I'll be talking shit for days. I'll have show every day to tell you what the fuck is wrong here. We got 5 linebackers that can stop the run good, and we added the one of the best to stop the run. We got a bunch of guys that can stop the run. Chin can stop the run. Palomar is known for stopping the run, right? Our corners, we pay so much attention to. They can tackle. Can they cover? That's what they're supposed to do, is cover. Our coverage, our knowledge of coverage is like non-existent as far as us talking about it. We got, Chin bangs. He's a good hitter. He stops the run. He does what he's supposed to do. But when he's in coverage, there's things that people say about Chin that he doesn't cover that way. Liability in coverage. Guys like ECG says it a lot, right? He's not a big fan of Thornton, right? I've heard the East Coast guy say he's not a big fan of Thornton. I wasn't, but we were so amazed about how tall he was and things like that. But the way he moves and the way he's stiff, and we have this guy in the lineup. A lot of us have a starting, and he has problems, and we're I don't know if I'm not nitpicking anything, because there are people that know football that will tell you the same thing, Jeff. But if we're penciling in rookies to be our starters, we have problems there. We have, and then I look at it.
When was the last time we had a receiver of his talent?
Yeah,
where potential starter or is a starter. When was the last time?
It'll be great. It'll be great if he does.
We drafted. When was the last time we drafted a player of his potential?
A wide receiver?
We're going back. Nothing recent. That's what I mean. This is still a culture shock to some fans that haven't seen this yet. You know, we lived some of that back in the day.
That's a good point.
With some of the receivers we had. We haven't had the likes of this type of.
I think it was Edwards
in a long time.
Edwards, remember that guy Edwards that we he was supposed to be the one, the 50-50 ball, take to make the tight end available, shit like that. We had, I think what's his name was there? Darren Waller was our tight end, and there ain't nobody like him.
You want to talk about a hybrid? Waller was a definite hybrid. He was
the beginning. He was the beginning of those guys that we had.
Wide receiver. Same thing with Cordarrelle Patterson, wide receiver. But man, that son of a bitch could run the ball, man.
Yes. He played for the Raiders, and I don't know why he left. He played for the Raiders young.
I don't either.
He played
I'll
for
tell you,
young.
another guy that we let go that I was kind of bummed about or didn't retain him was Mac Hollins, because I liked the kid. I liked his ability. I liked him a lot.
I wanted him this year, man. I wanted him this year.
I wanted him back too. I really did.
And we had Matt Hollins.
I just want to get back to the defense real quick when you were talking about stopping the run and your linebackers and tackling and everything. The only thing I can tell you off the top of my head now, I'm not like a defensive guru type guy. I don't know defense as well as I do on the offensive side.
Uh-huh.
But I will tell you where you got a problem on defense is if your secondary players are out tackling or have more tackles than your front your linemen and your linebackers, then you're losing games. Because if they're the ones that are getting the majority of the tackles, then that means they're not doing their job up front, stopping the run, and they're not getting the pressure on the quarterback because they're getting the ball down the field. So if it happens where our safeties and our corners are coming out with the most tackles at the end of every game, that's a problem. And if that starts,
and if you play nickel,
then we got a problem.
Play nickel all the time. Your safety or your box is going to be that. But see, the way I think about, the way I play football, Jeff, is that I'm saying it is like, you look at our game tape last year or when we didn't have no other option.
I want to look at last year's game tape.
You didn't have no other option but to play nickel because we didn't stop the run. We were last place in stopping the run, and the only real tackler we had, because we had everybody out, was Spillane, and then we had Palomar out there got a bunch of tackles, and the other safety, the Hobbs, had a bunch of tackles until he got hurt. He was on and off or whatever. But to me, it varies. It varies. What type of part of the country you're from. What team you play for. What type of scheme you have. To me, here in Cali and the way I coach, the way I work a lot with the defense. They're my friends, and I pay attention to what they do because it stops what I do. You know what I mean? I got to pay attention to the defense because I coach running backs, and I got to know this safety is going to come down and be in the box. So let's run outside. Let's go outside or let's get inside because he can't bang. Let's put a guard. Let him mess with a guard. That's the reason why they have zone and all that shit. It's the reaction to what you do to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We think it's just one way. Oh, play defense. There it is. We're playing nickel. We're gonna stop everything. It's not that way. Chip Kelly is a mastermind at designing things to counter react what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's like this. Offensive coordinator, they're going at it like this. They say, "What you got? I'm gonna put this out there. Stop me from getting you." That's the way it is. And to me, playing nickel all the time is not good. It's not good because you're bringing a safety in to cover to stop the run when it should be a linebacker, right? It should be a linebacker, and you're jeopardizing coverage. You know what I mean? You're jeopardizing the coverage. So basically, you have two guys that are there because you have your slot corner, and then you have your safety coming in. That means you got three guys in coverage. And what if you got four receivers? What if it spreads you out in motion something? You got four guys running around. Three guys against four, you're fucked. Yep. No matter what route they run, that quarterback's gonna know it. If he knows things, he's gonna burn you. You're gonna get tore up. But that's what happened to us in the middle of the field, over and over and over and over again. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you stop the run or not. Play action is there, and if you're good at it, and if they can run the football, see that's what I like about this defense, Jeff, is that if we stop the run like we want to, and it looks like Pete Carroll is like that. You stop the run, you're going to win football games because whoever runs the ball better, and I know you're with this because you're an old offensive lineman, not old, but you were an offensive lineman, is that if you stop the run, the odds of you winning that football game is going to be drastically improved than not, okay? You can have the best secondary in the world. If your secondary is not doing shit, you're going to win the football game. If they're just covering basic shit and that team wants to run the football, keep trying, and they're not successful, you're going to make that quarterback throw the ball. And the more times you put the ball in the air, the more chances something fucked up is going to happen.
Yeah, percentages work against you because you're either gonna turn the ball over, a receiver's going to tip it the wrong way.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And it increases your the more passes you throw, like you said, it increases the chances of something going wrong.
Yes.
So running the ball, you have more control of the game. You have more control of the clock, and that's what some coaches don't understand sometimes. What you saw with AP last year, clock management was a big problem with him. It was horrible. And what still blows my mind, I know we're still talking about last year. Yeah. But what blows my mind is you had a guy like Marvin Lewis on the sideline with him, a former head coach. Why is he not in his ear telling him and reminding him of this? Like, hey, there's only a minute and a half left, but, you should really think about doing this. Or, I don't know if it was the fact that AP told him don't do that to me because I don't want to look weak out here. But
Probably.
you know, it's a learning experience. Take the experience when you can. Take the learning points from someone that's been there, done that. You know, had success in this league. You know, are you shitting me? I just
situations like that. I've been in, Jeff.
Horrible.
Like a young man would have his father. You know, his father was the coach, and then he got the team. He inherited the team for his father, and his father would be there, and it became a big like this.
Oh yeah.
If you're taking that, we were in a situation. We were happy and in a situation to where, and believe I was with AP. I liked his motivation at the beginning when he was, you know, the intern, whatever. I love that the way his move, the way he was doing it. I was like, fuck yeah, I'll play for you right now. You know what I mean? But that did decimate it when we started get. You don't want to. We were in. I should have known this from the get that if your head coach is learning how to be a head coach as you go, that's bad. We learned that lesson. Mark Davis learned that lesson, and I'm glad that he wasn't there. You know, I was pushing that we don't need him. We don't need him to learn on the job. We got a decorated coach that we know is going to be good in that way. He doesn't need no instruction from the higher up. You know, if you would have did that, you should have just said, you know what, Marvin Lewis is going to start coaching this team. You coach linebackers, but we just won't say it.
Just go back to AP real quick. I think there's two things that sealed his fate before the season even started last year. One, not keeping Jacobs. That screwed him big time in his running game. And two, saddling him with the likes of Gardner Minshew. When he already had said the season before when he took over for McDumdum, and he said, I'm starting my guy, Aiden O'Connell. And based on how O'Connell finished the season off, you thought for sure we were going to roll into 2024 with him being the starter. And then here comes Minshew, who never should have been a starter in the first place for this team. Should have been Aiden O'Connell from the start. You know, that also right there, those two moves right there. I think the not retaining Jacobs, which I don't blame Jacobs for wanting to leave at that point because Telesco didn't want to keep him. You know, he thought he was going to save money by going with, you know, Zamir White and the other running backs that we had.
With that shit.
Yep. And then could let Jacobs walk, you know, basically flip him off and say, kiss our ass, see you later. And then to take that money that you would have given to Jacobs and bring in Gardner Minshew. Okay. Smart move.
His decision from the bad thing about it was that there was a competition until the last preseason game over that quarterback situation. And it shouldn't have been that way.
They rolled one out, I'm telling you.
It should have been just, okay, beginning of preseason, we got our starter. This is the competition thing I started talking about. You know, if these guys can't beat somebody out, I question that. If Minshew couldn't beat out AOC, I question that. You know, what's wrong with Minshew? Because I didn't think highly of AOC from the get-go, and I'm saying, well, why can't he beat out this guy legit? You know, and I had to roll with who the starter was. I had no choice. Mm-hmm. You can say how fucked up everything was, but everything looked like mess. It was just a mess, bro. And I see the coming of good shit, you know, but it's hard to say, you know what, we're gonna be dope. We're gonna go 11-5. I'm thinking to these the reaction of the win losses that we're getting is weird, bro. Is weird to me, and I've said how many games we're gonna win, but certain guys that I thought I wish we would have got. It lowered my confidence. And what up, 805? Yeah, go check out his show, man. He always gives me love and our show love. Go check out 805 with my boy Chris and Severe. Real good dudes, real good show. Check out all their shows. They're real good guys. Yeah, and then I see these guys with 12 wins, 13 wins, and it's hard for me to say how realistic are you? What are you seeing? You know, I don't know if it's me if I nitpick at the things that are different, Jeff, mm-hmm. or I'm just trying to be sincere about it and give everybody a chance to to put their view out there, but sometimes you just got to be realistic. I understand the pump up, and you're like this and that, but you got to reality needs to sit in there, and then you get yourself disappointed from the get go. And and we're here to say I want our team to win, and I've been doing it for we've been doing it for such a long time, Jeff. It's just that I'm tired of saying everything's all good. We're good here, we're good there. When really deep inside, I'm thinking we got problems. We got problems if Christian Wilkins is hurt and has another surgery. We got problems.
That changes a lot right there.
That changes a lot. And defense, that front has always been just Crosby. And when Wilkins was in there, we did good. We were good. But when Wilkins is in there and Max Crosby, and we go to the first game of the season, and we get rushed for 250 yards, I was there watching that game, and we only have 6 yards rushing in the third quarter, I start thinking, Jeff, wow, we're going to have a problem here. And people were sitting here telling me, oh, Gravy, it's just game one. It's just game one, bro. It's a couple of games, we'll get into stride. I ain't with that, Jeff. Are you? I ain't with, it's going to take a couple of games. That's what you got preseason for. That's what you got. They think that everything strong in football happens during preseason or OTA, training camp. They think they begin from there. No, these guys were in, but way before the draft. Way before the draft. Those guys are so far behind, but all the veterans they got to play. But the offense is installed already, and they're just taking out the kinks and doing things. And when you see them play other game one, you got to be ready. None of this. You might be a little slow. You might be a little. You just got to get in the groove. But I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, it's game one. They deserve a loss." Fuck that. That's what I used to do before, bro. I'm not doing that anymore. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if you're like that, but I'm not with that. When you were in football and your coach said, "Okay, Jeff, take this game off. We got the next game. You can play better." That's not. That's not the case.
In your face, what the hell are you doing? Why? It's like, get your shit together now, not for the next game. Together now.
Get that offensive line set. That offensive line should be set.
Starters don't play in preseason. I think in our situation this year, I think that goes out the window. I think our starters should play the entire preseason. It's the only way they're going to come. So when the season starts, we're rolling. None of this, sitting them for the for the preseason. This team needs to mesh together. It all depends on how they mesh during the actual training camp itself. But this team needs to mesh. You're talking about all new coaches for the most part. Probably about 95% of these coaches are new to this organization. You're talking about an influx of new players, whether it be free agents, draft picks. This is unlike something we've seen in a while. Like when McDaniels came in, he inherited a playoff team. He dismantled it and replaced it with garbage. That's the problem there. In this case, you had a coach come in with Super Bowl winning experience, NCAA championship experience, coached in the NFL for a long time and did extremely well at it. Bring in guys that he trusts and to help groom this team and these players that they brought in along with the draft. These guys need to gel. This can't be by game 2 or 3, like you said, we're finally on track. No, we need to come fired.
We're 0-3. And we're 0-3, and we're saying, just give it some Nah, man, I ain't with that. I'm not with that. I'm not with 0-1.
The first game of the season, and it's right here in New England versus the Patriots. If they come all the way out here and they throw up and they just shit on the field and look horrible, I'm going to be pissed. All right, because for a few different reasons. One, I get to see them lose again. I haven't seen them win since '94 in person. Okay, so that means another notch on my belt on the loss column. Seeing these guys play in person. Number two, I have to deal with these asshole Pats fans rubbing it in my face until next year when we play them again here in New England, because we come back here again next year. Having to deal with that crap. I can't handle that. Plus, everybody that's going to be traveling out here to watch this game, you're going to spend your hard-earned money to come out here and watch this team falter? No. Which is why a lot of times I never even thought about traveling lately to go to games because,
Me neither.
you know,
We always go to LA. We always go to,
how
go to Dallas game, go to LA game, and
yeah,
I don't
depending on how this season goes, you know, I may seriously consider hopefully getting out to Vegas next year for the
That's right.
2026 season. You know,
Mhm.
who knows? I mean, if the season looks good as we're going on and we look successful and we're winning games, especially in our own division, if I can piece it together and get out there this year, then I'll do it this year. You know, because I've never been to a Raiders home game ever, whether it be LA or Vegas. Nope. I've seen
Not
them
even
on
in
the
Oakland.
Nope.
Nah. Oh, you said never.
Nope. I've been to Buffalo. I've been to New York City twice, the old Meadowlands and the new stadium, and I've been to New England. So I'm still waiting.
And that'll be a good trip for you.
This
man.
will be the first time I've gone to Gillette. So this was last time I went there was the old Sullivan Stadium.
Oh yeah.
It's been that
That's
long.
good, man. You have a good time. It's not, you'll be Raidered out over there. It'll be good. I'll get that win. It's gonna be an up and coming team and another up and coming team. You know, the two teams that are on the up. They got good coaching, got good players. We were talking about Mac Hollins. What do you think? Where does he play at?
He's right back here. He's here.
He's playing in New England. Yeah. And they got Stephon Diggs. They got Stephon Diggs over there.
You know,
are we comfortable with our two guys that we have at corner? Our two guys at corner covering those guys.
It's not going to be an easy matchup. There's no two ways about it.
And these
it's
guys
all going to be
covering
get on the
Pickens and CD Lamb on the game I'm going to. Are we confident that these two guys are going to cover Pickens and CD Lamb out there, or is it going to be a field day for Dak Prescott? Is it going to be a field day?
That's where it comes into play. The amount of pressure we can get up the middle, up the outside. So if the good thing for us when we come here to play the Patriots, second year guy in Drake May, so he's still going to be a little whole new offensive system. You know, that's another thing. I don't know how he's doing. You know, running that so far in OTAs for them. You know, so it'll be interesting to see if our defense can put pressure on him. Then we won't have to worry about how well we're covering those guys in the secondary, you know. But either way, people don't realize that the Patriots got quietly better during the offseason. They immediately got fired. When they fired Mayo, Jared Mayo, that was the best thing they could have done. You know, as soon as they fired him, because I know a lot of people were talking on, I was pushing for it too, for Vrabel to come and be the head coach for us. As soon as the last game of the season, I was at the bar with the club, and the Patriots game was over, not even 20 minutes. Somebody comes over and said they just fired Mayo. I'm like, they're still walking off the field. He goes, yeah, they already fired him. I'm like, what the fuck? I said, well, that's the end of that. I said, we ain't getting Vrabel. They're like, what do you mean? I said, if you don't think he's going to New England, you're crazy. They're going to hire him in a heartbeat. They'll fill out the Rooney Rule, and they're going to hire him. It's simple as that. So they hired him. He brings in who he brings in. They had a good draft. They brought in some good free agents. You know,
lots of free agents.
The only competition,
money.
And they had a shit ton of money. The only competition in their division is Buffalo.
Buffalo.
You know, they don't play any of those teams. They don't play Buffalo in the cold weather in Buffalo. They play them early in the season. You know, Miami, I think they come up here during the cold weather. So, I mean, they've still got the upper hand on the Jets and the Dolphins. So, the Patriots are going to make some noise this year.
I think so.
Really
I think so. Several other teams that are going to come up, you know, and some we play. The only one I'm confident in that's going to suck is Cleveland. That's all. And they just got a pass rusher. That's it.
Yeah.
Can we stop him? We never do anyways, but can we stop him? But
you know, in our division alone, all three teams got better.
Tough.
All four teams got better, but we got better, but so did the other three teams. You know, all I care is I don't want to go 0-6 in our division. I want to see us 3-3 or better. We can't be
guaranteed losing record, Jeff, if you don't win a game in your division. Guaranteed. I don't give a fuck how much you win outside. But how confident will you be if you go to the playoffs and win the rest of your games? some way or another, you do that. If you don't win a game in your division, you're fucked. Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
I've said that before on my shows. I said, I don't care what we do as long as we are at least 500 or better in our division. Because if we can't win games in our own division, it doesn't matter what we do in the rest of the league, because it all starts in our own division. Until we become relevant in our own division, it doesn't matter what we do in the rest of the league. Our division, again, is the toughest in the NFL. There's no choice about it. Well, you show me another division where all 4 teams are as tough as our 4 teams in our division. Seriously. The Chiefs are always going to do Chief things. So until one of the other 3 teams beats the Chiefs are still the odds-on favorite to win the division. I'm sorry. As good as everybody says Denver is, I'm still putting money on the Chiefs to win the division. I really am. And I'm putting money on it's either going to be KC or Buffalo in the Super Bowl for the AFC at this point. They're the 2 stacked teams. They're the 2 consistently always in it type teams. Until someone dethrones Kansas City is still the team to beat. Plain and simple.
And I don't think, and to be honest with you, Jeff, I don't think that people are saying that Kansas City's falling off. I don't think they're going to fall off. They got better. They're the best quarterback in the league. The best quarterback in the league.
Last year they hit a low spot last year because on the offense they did. Last year was their defense that kept them in games. Their defense stepped up when they needed to because Mahomes had a horrible year last year. Statistically, you look at his numbers last year, that was by far the worst year he ever had, probably maybe since his rookie year. The horrible year last year for their offense. It was their defense that kept them in it. They had no business being in the Super Bowl, in all honesty. They never should have made it to that game. They weren't going to win it. There's no way that offense.
They lost 2 games of the season, and one of them was a joke. They lost 2 games of the season, and one of them was a joke. They got beat by a good team in Buffalo, but they beat Buffalo at the end result.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there was no way they were going to win that Super Bowl, not with that offense.
They got beat by a better team. They got beat by a better team all around.
Yeah. Philly's defense was just too damn good. Way too good.
And you let a run. You have the best running back that did the amazing shit that he did, and then if you let a quarterback run for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns in a Super Bowl game, you ain't.
Yes.
You ain't gonna win that game. You got the running back doing his shit, then you have the quarterback doing that shit. That's why movement as a quarterback is so important, as far as I'm concerned. But
and then you got your great defensive lineman crying for a neck injury because he got in the middle of the tush push.
Like that. And we played them this year, bro.
That game, I've already got us down for a loss on that game. Philly's just they're too good in Philly.
Hey, people say we lose a lot of games. I'm kind of iffy on that game. I don't got us beaten. See,
I got us down for 2 definite losses, both on the East Coast. It's going to be, I think, the Redskins are going to give us a run for our money, and the Eagles. Eagles for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I got us losing those 2 games.
I had us doing real good with Redskins. That's going to be a game that's going to be a good game because we got Geno. And the quarterback at Washington, he makes mistakes. And we could get to him. That game's early and everybody should be healthy. Is that it could be a problem for them. But Dallas game is different. I don't think we have corners that could cover those 2 dudes. And if we get somebody in there, and we had a thing in there hitting from Cincinnati. I just depth. I like the 2 safeties we have now, so that's just depth for us. Guys like that is depth. If you get a starting guy, he started for Cincinnati, but Cincinnati wasn't that real good of a defense. I want to bring in a guy like that to start. I'm cool with our safeties. We gotta get depth. Get a guy that's not like that. Getting corners. We need a caliber corner to be doing some. Stokes is not impressive to me, Jeff. JB is still super duper young, bro,
and that's why.
Believe it or not, he had a good season in the beginning, but
I wish we could get Ramsey for a decent price.
Yeah,
you come in and he automatically just changes that whole secondary.
It would, that would. But Shaquille Griffin will keep it respectful, where he could get in there and do something. Shaquille Griffin has done things, and as far as corners, Eric Stokes was Jair Alexander's backup, but he was hurt for the. He played 7 games last year. Stokes was Jair Alexander's backup. He went in there when he got hurt, so he got a bunch of time, but that's the guy we got starting for. A backup on one team and a starter for our team, but you got to get a corner like that. If you want to say that you're happy with the defense, get a guy like Jalen Ramsey. Get a guy like, you can say Jair, but he's hurt. I'm tired of hurt all the time.
We're getting away from that. We the guys that are hurt were already on the roster when the coach took over,
and that's what I'm expecting, Jeff. I'm expecting not to get Jalen Ramsey's and get Shaquille Griffin's, and which is good. It adds more people. Like sign Griffin to 2 years. You could do that on the amount of money that you're going to pay. People don't know. People think that Jalen Ramsey is going to come here on a discount. Maybe, but it's not going to. The discount's going to be, $17 million. For a 30-year-old corner. You mentioned he's young. He's still doing stuff. It'll be a big asset to this team. But okay, they stay away from Jalen Ramsey, but they're going to pick on Eric Stokes or they're going to pick on JB. You know what I mean? So you got to look at that part of it, and then.
But you know what? In all honesty, that's fine. You just float a little help to that side. That's all. Knowing that that's what they're going to do. You double up the pressure somehow on the front, and you float a little extra support. Not meaning he's got to run in his hip pocket, but more attentive to what's going on that side. Where you don't have to worry about Ramsey. So if you're playing safety, you don't have to worry about the guy on your left. Say Ramsey's playing the left side. You don't have to worry about shit over there. If you do, then you've got problems. If you know that you've got him on that side, you can float a little bit more or be more attentive to the right side. But don't give up that deep threat. To be more cognitive of that. Don't let your right side get burned. Which is what we've always been famous for too. I
will Palomar can cover, but Chen is known to be a liability in coverage. He's a run stopper. That's what he does well. That's what his impact on the team is, a run stopper.
I've always said that too. You don't need to have superstar corners. If you've got superstar up front guys that are consistently putting pressure on the opposing quarterback, they're not going to have time to throw the ball and wait for plays to develop.
Oh, no.
So the more pressure they get on that quarterback, you could have serviceable, mid-level or better cornerback talent back there. It all depends on your pressure up front. You get that pressure up front on that quarterback, that means he's scrambling. He's going to be off base when he throws. There's your chances for interceptions. There's your chance for shit to go wrong on the offensive side. So we don't have to have superstars. Right now, one good superstar in that secondary would be perfect. Like a Ramsey. Or
it'll be a help.
I would even settle for Griffith at this point.
It'll be a help. Griffith can do that. Griffith can make me a little bit more satisfied with the secondary.
Yeah.
If Wilkins is not there, and I mind you, I want to stress to you that we don't have anybody, and then usually of your backup to Wilkins, you're not going to be as good as him, but
you're a backup for a reason, so yeah.
The drop off, not only the backup, but the drop off is so drastic.
It is.
Jeff, is that the secondary is going to be impacted by just that one guy. Just that one guy is going to be impacted, and I hope people remember that it ain't going to be all good if Wilkins is in there, and then Leaky goes in there and does. I would rather have the pass rush ability, the mindfulness. People concentrate on Wilkins. You're not going to set a game plan against Leaky. You defensive coordinator Spagnola's over there saying, "What are we going to do to stop Christian Wilkins?" And defensive coordinators are going to do that. They're not going to say, "Oh, we'll put the guard or the tackle, just give a good little bump to Leaky." That might be bad for them, and Leaky might ball out. Okay. But the confidence right now is you need Christian Wilkins in there. Then that secondary is more comfortable to cover and be okay, just like you said. No matter who's out there. No matter who if Wilkins was starting right now and no problems with his foot, okay, Stokes and JB, I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
I'm good with that. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, I get what you're saying there. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then Ramsey, we get a guy like Ramsey, it'll be just another asset for that secondary to be even dominant. Cool.
And then you could be a little bit more lenient up front. Like if you don't have Wilkins, you'd still be a little bit more confident or comfortable. Now, here's my thing: is if they come out, the Raiders come out and say, okay, Wilkins needs a second surgery. We're probably not going to get him back until after the bye week. Then you know what? His market value is $12 million. I would seriously consider bringing Clowney in at that point.
Good job. I was just going to say that.
Bring him in.
That question, I said, hey, John Donovan Clowney's out there. Go get him. John Donovan Clowney's out there. Go get him.
He's not like we said earlier. He's not the end all answer for Wilkins being out, but he gives you that more of a stability. Gives you that veteran presence. A guy that can do the job. Might not do it as well as Wilkins based on Wilkins' size and speed and everything he's done so far, but I think he could do almost as good.
He's doing more right now
instead of Wilkins. With Wilkins being out, hell yeah.
And that's a great point. And he's doing more right now than Tyree Wilson has done in 3 years. At 31 years old as a pass rusher, he's doing more right now. 31 years old than what a 25-year-old doing, and I'm probably the same amount of plays. Yeah, 46 tackles as defensive line. No one had 46 tackles. I don't think a defensive line on the team.
No.
So and he played on a sorry ass team, Jeff. The Carolina Panthers weren't a good team.
Sorry,
but they kicked the shit out of us though when they came to us. I wonder how many tackles Jadeveon Clowney had against us. I could probably look it up.
Sorry, Devin just sent me pictures of Little Raider.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm about ready to close it though, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Wifey came home early and probably go get some lunch or something. But I hope it was good. And remember that if I have a mod in here, they can put that GoFundMe back up.
Put that up. I'll put that.
Yeah, put that up real quick so everybody could get it.
There it is.
They said we look like twins with the glasses on. There it is. You guys pay attention to this real quick. And you guys go check that out.
That's people that aren't aware of it. It's a GoFundMe for one of our very own that's been in the chat for the last few months, Raider 24 Nation. Their son just had another surgery today. If you read the description on there, you'll see the heart defects that this young boy, he's 3 years old, has had. He's already had numerous surgeries. Just had one today. Went in at 10 o'clock Texas time this morning for a surgery. They just sent me pictures. He's still kind of out of it. He hasn't fully woken up yet, but the surgery went well today. He may have to have one more surgery still.
We know Jeff is going to. We know Jeff is going to splash that out on his show. It's coming up at 5 o'clock. Make sure you watch that. Or 5 something, right?
Chris for Raiders.
Yeah, you're gonna have Chris Raiders out there. What's up to Chris?
Yeah, Chris and I, for sure.
You guys look at that GoFundMe I have on the bottom right there. Make sure you guys help this family get over this unfortunate situation. But he's gonna get better. Send your prayers, send blessings towards this young little boy, 3 years old. He shouldn't be going through this. His parents shouldn't be going through this. So let's help him out with Raider Nation. I hope there's a lot of
the fundraisers to help them alleviate some of their medical bills. The father's had to take a lot of time off for work. He's not getting paid. He's still doing some work, but very little. It's a 3-hour trip from their house to the hospital. They finally got the okay or the approval to stay at the Ronald McDonald House. So last night was their first night there. They're going to be there at least until Wednesday. So this is,
doesn't matter what it's for, Jeff. Doesn't matter what it's for. Just it doesn't matter what it's for. Just do it. Just go to help this family out. They're in need. Raider Nation, we should do that. people that are watching right now, please go over there and check it out. Those are for anybody else. We would do the same. So
yeah, whatever you can give, $5, $10, whatever, doesn't matter. Any little bit you guys do is it helps. We appreciate it, and the family appreciates it too. They were on the show with us Wednesday night. The father came on live with us, and then they were in the chat on last night's show too. So they're very appreciative, and they love everybody. So just so everybody knows, the little boy's name is Raider.
That's
so. He watches the show with his dad whenever we're on, and whenever everybody yells out Raiders, he gets all excited because they think that we're yelling his name, so he gets excited. He gets a smile because it's one of the few times, if any, that that Raider smiles. So it's cute.
Well, that's good, man. I'm gonna say a big up Raider. You get better, my young man. You get better like that, man. It's all. Leave a Raider in the chat for this young man and see what's going on with him. But Jeff, hey man, it was great talking ball with you.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Glad you came on, bro. Glad you came on. I know you wanted to push this for this. You wanted to push this for this young man, but it was great talking football with you, man. You gotta do it again sometime. Gotta do it again sometime. I'll check out your show. Weekends, I'm usually with Mrs. Gravy, but we're gonna have some fun today. So. Raider Dad, what's up, man? How you doing? Good to see you, man. Came in late. The link is in the chat right now, Raider Dad, if you got it. And so, you guys want to say big up to Little Raider? Jeff is gonna have a show in a couple of hours. He's gonna be on 5 o'clock our time. That's what I see.
Yeah, it'll be 9 o'clock Eastern time for everybody on the East Coast.
He's going to be on with Christopher Raiders for their great show they have every Friday night. So you guys watch that. I'll be watching it, Jeff. If I got time.
Thank you.
I don't know if you put out the link on that show, but I'll be glad to go up there and talk ball with you. Maybe we can recap on what we talked today, saying, hey, Gravy said this dumb. Gravy said this dumb shit. Gravy said this dumb shit.
I send the link to every Friday, and you're usually one of them. So
it's not that I don't want to be on the show. I'm busy, man, and I'm usually somewhere real loud and stuff. Yeah, Fridays is wifey day, but sometimes I get home early, man. I love to get on. If you guys have a long show, I'll get on. But everybody that was in the chat, man, we almost got up to 40 people up in here, so I want to thank you guys for that. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, a great weekend. I don't do shows on the weekend, but Sunday. For sure, Raider Nation Live is going to have a show. I think we're going to have a guest. We're going to have a guest on there. Raiders Against the World, Mike is going to be on there. He has a great fan base, great merch. He's going to have an event coming up that's on a beach over there down south on a lake or a beach, ocean out there, Pacific Ocean type thing. You guys can go hang out over there. He's going to give out that information. But all in all, I want to say thank you, Raider Nation, and have a blessed weekend.
Oh. Hey, real quick, one more thing I just want to throw out here because I know you'll appreciate this. Saturday nights, Chris and I have our Last Call podcast. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday, the 28th. We're going to have a special guest on. We're going to have the Violator on with us on Saturday night.
Great.
Looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
I always have fun. Listening to him. I've been on lives when he was there. He's a great dude, man. Great.
Yeah.
A lot of tradition and a lot of great stories for him, man.
It'll be fun. It'll be a good time getting to interview him and really get to the meat and potatoes of the Violator.
You get back to the old school. You get back to the old school right there. How the 6-pack story, you'll learn about that and all that stuff. So we'll get back into it. But all in all, I want to thank everybody. Hang around a little bit.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Coach, for having me on. I appreciate it, man. It's been fun.
No problem. Peace out, Raider Nation.